You know what my problem is with every fanatic fundamentalist, from the Catholics to the Orthodox to the KKK? The one thing you all have in common is, and you're too ignorant to see it, is that you're too inept to get by in the world. So your only recourse is to try and curtail the enjoyment of the Neon Crew podcast.
Hell yeah. No, that's pretty good. It's a great Alan Berg.
Thank you.
Mark Maron.
Mark Maron, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been aware of Mark Maron before, but I've never really listened to his stuff because he's a pretty prolific podcaster, right?
Yeah, he got going, I want to say, like, when podcasts first started coming out, and he had some, I mean, he might have notoriety now, but when podcasts first came out, like, that's the only reason I know his name.
Yeah.
This is the first film I think I've seen him in. He also had, like, an HBO series or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think he smokes pot. So,
oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
If you smoke pot and talk into a microphone, you get your own HBO
Well, that's
show.
probably how we got the freaking gig for this Denver disc jockey.
Right. This assassinated Denver disc jockey. Yeah, welcome everybody to episode 93 of the Neon Crew podcast. My name is Kyle.
I'm Mac.
We've got a few pieces of news before we get into the film discussions today. I'm excited to get into both of these for very different reasons.
Same.
I told Drew I posted on Instagram what the movies we were going to talk about this episode were, and Drew messaged me and said, "You guys are unhinged for talking about both Minecraft and The Order in the same fucking episode."
I will say, okay. So in my defense, because it was kind of funny, because I saw Minecraft first. And not knowing what The Order was about. So, like, on IMDb, it is described as bank robberies that have some, like, different mysterious meanings behind the robberies that don't seem... And I think it said it's because they're, like, part of a cult or something.
Interesting. They don't, like, mention the white supremacy stuff at all?
There's nothing. So, and I knew Mark Maron was in it. I was like, oh, I wonder if this is, like, you know, some supernatural forces guiding these guys. Jude Law's in it. He looks a little unhinged. He's got a great mustache.
So here's the synopsis. A series of bank robberies and car heists frightened communities in the Pacific Northwest. A lone FBI agent believes that the crimes were not the work of financially motivated criminals, but rather a group of dangerous domestic terrorists. Doesn't mention white supremacy at all.
No. And so, and I must have drifted off towards the end there because I don't even remember domestic terrorists.
Right.
Like,
and even then it's kind of vague.
Yeah. And so watching it, and then, you know, you immediately know what's happening, and then all of a sudden the Turner Diaries get brought up, and the first, like, 4 scenes of this thing with this guy reading it to his son, I was like, very ironic that we go with Minecraft and then this film, and they're nurturing these kids with this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
not too much in the differences, maybe? I don't know.
We'll see. At least there's like, hey, we can point you in one direction, and if you catch yourself doing this in the other direction, well, stay away from me.
It's like that meme where it's like the two paths.
Yeah.
It's like youth of today. Yeah. It's like white supremacy over here and Minecraft over this way.
Turner Diaries with one image, and then Jack Black.
Yeah.
Or the chicken jockey is the other.
Jack Black and Jason Momoa 69ing.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't wait to talk about Minecraft.
Before we get into that,
yes.
Some news.
Okay.
I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't touch on this. Val Kilmer passed away, age 65. Dealing with cancer.
Yeah,
right?
Was it? I think it was the after effects. Like, I was talking to my dad about it, and I thought I read somewhere that it wasn't from cancer, but it had something to do with some medical problems because of the cancer. And then he said pneumonia. That
sounds about right.
Which I
feel like pneumonia is a cause of a lot of these, like, lingering illnesses that people deal with, right? That seems to be the thing that gets them a lot of the time.
Last year there was like a pneumonia startup, and I, not being very medically as a savant.
I was going to say, in Silicon Valley, someone's trying to start up the pneumonia company.
They make
it.
It was more so of, I've seen Everest, and I've seen a lot of people die of pneumonia. So, like, when you tell me you have pneumonia, it's like a rung down from cancer. And,
Yeah.
Everyone's, we got it. It sucks. We're taking some pills. We'll be good in 3 days. And then I go, I don't really know where pneumonia ranks on like, hey, be frightened, or you might as well have influenza. You're going to be sick for 3 days and then you'll be fine.
Yeah. My understanding is that like, if you have it when you're healthy, normally you can get through it. But if you get it when you're already sick with something, it's like, oh damn, that's not a good combination.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's a very mixology.
It can scare the shit out of you. When my grandpa, about 2 months before he passed away, when he was still like living in his house, walking about, doing his regular thing, he got pneumonia and he got through it. Like he beat it ultimately. The cancer is what got him in the end, but the pneumonia scared him so much that he stopped smoking cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
After smoking for like 50 plus years of his life.
Oh.
Like, it insanely terrified him to the point where it's like, yeah, no, this is a cigarette-free house now. Even though this place like smells and looks like a cigarette after it's been like what, nearly half a century of living in this house.
Yeah.
Smoking nonstop.
Just plumes of smoke coming out as you open the door.
Yeah. But anyway, Val Kilmer, it's sad that he's passed away. Not that old, unfortunately.
Yeah, he also had
But he was sick for a while.
He was. And I think he's had that look for, I don't know, it feels like the last 8 years.
Last thing we saw him in was Top Gun Maverick, right?
Yes. And yeah, I'd have to go into his portfolio to see what other films possibly I'd seen in the mid 2000s that he was in.
Yeah.
He's had that look though. So like here in 65, I'm like, damn, yeah, young,
Mm-hmm.
He looked old though. I'll say that. And I don't have a problem saying that.
No, he looked about his age, I would say. He had like, it seemed like on top of being sick, that sort of Hollywood thing of like, okay, his face is aging, but his like hair is still kind of trying to
feathery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Kevin Bacon feather hair.
Yes.
That we were talking
you have to be
about
careful. That's why I said I've leaned in my age. At some point you just say it's here. And then you hope you have the feathery hair until you're 65 with the scarf over your neck.
It's nice and white.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Silver fox.
Are you hoping for like the white or like the pepper, kind of like salt and pepper look?
I'm hoping that it doesn't go away. And
I
then if
you've
someone
made it pretty far, I think you're doing all right.
Is that it? Yeah, I don't know if I'd say you'd know, but
I mean,
it's an educated guess.
Because for listeners who don't know what I look like, I am a very bald man who has dealt with
Tom Hardy and Bronson.
Yes, Tom Hardy and Bronson. I have a handlebar mustache to compensate for it. Because some guys are like my uncle, where they're like, all right, the hair is starting to go a little bit, but then it stops, and it stays stopped for however long, forever.
Yeah. Right.
And then some people are like me, where it's like, oh, you're in your mid-20s? Cool. God hates that you have hair, and we're just going to take it all away.
Like a cat off your head.
Yes. But anyway, it kind of seemed like he had that look going on a little bit, where it's like he doesn't look bad. It's just like he looks like he has aged.
I guess the reason why I say he's looked like this for the last 8 years is because I can't believe he was 57 when he started looking like that.
Right.
So he's kind of, I don't want to say immortal.
He's around that age bracket of actors, kind of like Tom Cruise or Keanu, where it's like, age is creeping in, and we're fighting our damnedest to like go against it.
Yeah, and they're going to have the same look probably now and for the next 10 to 15 years, and then there's going to be another tier that they hit where you can tell like, oh man, they feel like they've aged 20 years.
Yeah.
Favorite
Val Kilmer movie? Mine personally, Heat.
Yeah.
I'm very partial to Heat. Admittedly, I haven't seen a ton of Val Kilmer movies. One that I think I'm going to check out soon is Tombstone. I've heard that's a pretty totemic Kilmer film.
Yeah, I have to. That's one I haven't seen. That's a TNT classic right there.
It seems like it.
Catch
it on like USA at 10 p.m.
Yes, he has a plethora of films that I feel like are ready for TV films. Mm-hmm. Just kind of on the edge of being edgy.
Ghost in the Darkness.
Red Planet.
We covered a lot of his movies on here.
We have
Island of Dr. Moreau.
Me and Sam were texting I think Saturday about it. And he's actually had he's had a lot of iconic films. I mean, he's garnered the name Val Kilmer. I feel like, had he not been I don't want to say insane, but very, I wish I knew a little bit more about him.
He seemed like he had a bit of a brashness about him.
Kind of narcissistic.
In like the mid to late 90s, yeah.
Yeah, when he was getting popularity. So, but he's had a lot of iconic roles. I think my favorite film probably is just going to be The Ghost in the Darkness. Nothing memorable, but it's a film that I think the first time I laid eyes on him, and I remember watching that thing when I was like 8 years old or 9.
His beautiful angular face.
Yeah, wondering why this doctor has a gun.
Yeah, right.
Hunting a lion. Just very confused about the profession.
Why does this nerd look like he's gone through military school?
Yeah.
Probably fresh off of the training grounds of Michael Mann's school of bullet shooting.
Sam had True Romance in there as number 1. And I've seen a couple people like label that. I guess I'm just a little shocked. I can't remember his runtime in the film, but I feel like he only had 2 scenes.
I am looking at I've never seen True Romance before. I'm looking at the cast of this movie, and I am flummoxed.
Oh, dude, it's
got so many fucking people in it,
and it's so Tarantino wrote it, and it was directed by Ridley Scott.
Tony Scott.
Yeah.
Dearly departed.
Yes, Tony Scott, and it's got
Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Dennis Hopper, Val Kilmer's 4th build, Gary Oldman, Brad Pitt, Christopher Walken, Sam Jackson.
Dude, you talk about a film like
James Gandolfini.
Character development and like very short arcs.
This is going on the watch list.
Oh, that's a must. And Sam said that was his number 1, and I was like, why is everyone? I don't know. I don't remember. I remember him being in it like slightly because there's a couple scenes, and
right.
I'm not going to give it away, but for it to be his number 1, but then we kind of got into like lists of iconic movies that he's been in, at least in our lives, and he's got a stable. I liked him in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Still need to see that.
That's a fun one.
RDJ.
Yeah, but maybe kind of just getting into rehab. RDJ.
2005. So yeah, this will be like the beginning of the upswing.
Yes, he very charismatic, and I could and you can see how he got the Tony Stark role.
Shane Black
directed.
Yeah.
Predator. Shane Black.
Iron Man 3. Shane Black.
Yeah. Oh, you had to go there.
I had to go there. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
We had many great movies from you. You will be missed.
Yes.
Speaking of missed, another piece of news that I have. It seems like Tarantino is scared that he's going to miss his shot at making the perfect movie.
Oh, no.
Because he has so many ideas that I think he is just putting barriers on himself from ever like directing directly, right? If I can use some alliteration with you. I don't know if you've seen this.
I doubt I have.
A lot of people thought it was an April Fool's story because it happened April 1st.
Okay.
But it seems to be a real thing that could possibly happen.
We're a week removed.
David Fincher supposedly is directing a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel centering around Brad Pitt's character that's being written by Quentin Tarantino.
Now, I haven't read the book. I can see that because in the movie, they touch a little bit on his backstory, but in the book, like Tarantino has like it's played to both sides with him and Leo's character in the film, and there's some instances in the book that I could definitely see them making like a 2-hour film on, you know. They get into anyways, I don't want to go into it, but I did see that they were talking about having the movie centered on Brad Pitt's character, and I was like, okay, like I think there's enough meat on that bone that he could definitely pull it off,
right? And I wanted to bring it up with you because I know you love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
yeah.
It's your favorite Tarantino.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an interesting thing because, like, obviously Quentin Tarantino is, like, very staunch about his view of, like, I'm going to make 10 movies and then that's going to be it, right?
Right.
How do you like my Tarantino? Very.
It's all right.
It's I try to make it subtle with it still being his mannerisms. But he is so staunch of, like, making sure he only has 10 movies and then he's, like, done directing.
Yeah.
Right? To the point where, like, you have all these different stories that you're mulling around, all these different, like, possible movies that you could be making that you're just kind of too scared to make because you don't want the last one to fuck up, right? Because he's had an idea for Kill Bill 3. He's had an idea for this, obviously.
Yeah.
He's had an idea of, like, a Vega Brothers spinoff with, like, John Travolta and the guy who plays
Michael.
Michael. I forget his fucking name.
God, I can see it. He's in every Tarantino film.
Right. He's
Isn't
in
he,
Kill Bill too.
Yeah, it's
Michael Madsen.
Madsen, yes.
Yeah, with Michael Madsen and John Travolta. He's thought about doing that movie. He has, like, all these ideas for these films that he wants to do, but then he's just like, nope, I'm sticking to my rule of 10, right? And it is a curious thing of how he will move on after he eventually does make his 10th movie. Is it going to be more stuff like this where he goes to other directors to make material that he writes? Stories that he wants to expand upon, but that he doesn't necessarily want to direct because he doesn't want the Tarantino name on it. He doesn't want to dilute that 10-film barrier that he's put for himself.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a knock on it. I think he's building up a legacy, and obviously he's got this put in place. And I mean, I kind of respect the fact that he's saying I'm going to limit myself to this amount. Mm-hmm. You know, and him being a writer and writing some scripts and having other people do it. I'm very curious if he'll be able to have the guardrails on. And he's getting up there in age too, I feel like.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's probably like early 60s Tarantino.
I mean, I'd say
he's probably around the same age as Fincher, right?
Mid to late 60s. Some of the stuff that I was reading and
I'm gonna guess early 60s. So Fincher is 62, by the way.
Okay,
just so you know. And I always picture Fincher as being older than Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, I do too. But after reading,
Tarantino is the same age.
62.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he'll be 66 when I mean, we'll see. I don't know. It's hard for me to even think about. I mean, I think it's dumb that he's imposing a self limit. It feels like he's doing it more, not necessarily clickbait. I mean, I don't know if he's doing it out of principle or
it seems like he's doing it out of fear of creating more movies after that would lessen the value of his filmography. Kind of like how people view Ridley Scott. Like a lot of Ridley Scott's latest output, they're like, oh yeah, I love Ridley Scott. Yeah, I love all of his classic movies, but like his latest stuff isn't that great. I think he's afraid of becoming that. Yeah,
but like he had that self-imposed rule, like I want to say when he did his 7th or 8th film.
Oh yeah, he's had it for a long time.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't necessarily think it's a fear thing. I mean, because at one, you're Quentin Tarantino.
I think it's a combination. I think it's like a fear and ego thing, personally.
I'm just curious.
I'm just speculating.
Right. And I'd be curious because it sounds like it's something else. Like I almost feel like it's one of those things like Babe Ruth calling a shot, saying like, I'm going to make 10. And that way Tarantino goes down as like the guy that made 10 films. So like his legacy lives on with. It's not necessarily you have to see a Tarantino film in 50 years. It's, hey, this is one of the best directors that it said he was only making 10 films, like a self-imposed like epitaph or something.
If he wants to like very staunchly continue with that ideology of 10 movies, and this is how he wants to like continue stories that he wants to do, I am more pro than anti that. Especially if you're going to get filmmakers like David Fincher, like one of my favorite directors ever, to do something like this. It's very clear that like him picking Fincher means that he is serious about like this being like a real movie that he wants done justice, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. Fincher's tones don't really mix with his.
I think we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how collaborative that effort is. Because this will also be like, you're right in that it's like very much kind of like outside of what Fincher's known for now.
Yeah.
Especially since like this will be the first sequel he's done since doing Alien 3, right? Like he hasn't done like a sequel franchise movie since then. Like he's only done adaptations of other people's work or like
this would be
original scripts.
This would be an adaptation. I think they would pull from what Tarantino's got written down. I don't know if I'd call it a sequel. I'd almost imagine that they'd go into the backstory of Cliff and how he met. I can never remember Leo's name in that goddamn film.
Rick Dalton?
Rick Dalton. I can remember Cliff Booth. I can't remember Rick Dalton.
I remember Rick Dalton because he's got that scene after the girl compliments him where he's like, Rick fucking Dalton.
They're both spectacular in that film. And
they're great.
And, you know, he's done this before. I'm 99% sure he wrote True Romance and Tony Scott directed it. So he's not unfamiliar with handing over his work and being kind of around to help out with character development and what he was going for on script.
And he's a great writer. Like I don't doubt that he'd be able to do the material justice, you know.
Yeah.
It does say a lot to me that he's picking David Fincher and not someone who's like his buddy like Robert Rodriguez or like Eli Roth to do it. He wants someone who has the respectability and the, you know, the I don't know, connotation with it. No disrespect to Robert Rodriguez.
You guys are listening.
A little bit disrespect to Eli Roth. I don't really like him.
Well, you know, and I would. There's like two things too. It's Tarantino doesn't strike. I mean, he's egocentric, but I also think he has a respect for others' work. So this it also might play into like I've seen a lot of David Fincher films and I love the way he directs and I love what I see on screen. I feel like he could bring this to life. Mm-hmm. You know, like it could be something along those lines too. And it's Tarantino. I more so of, you know, True Romance came out in 92, 95, right? So we're talking 20, 25 years ago, and he's a younger man doing that as opposed to being in, you know, I've directed 10 films now.
Right.
So I think True Romance came on the heels of, it was either right before or right after Pulp Fiction, you know, and that was his, second film?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it kind of, I'm wondering if the egos clash a little bit or if he has that restraint to say, like, I'm just now writing it. I'm here for creative thoughts and help you out with some creative liberties that we can take on the screen or on the script. Because I also don't know his directing style. I don't know if he is. I wrote it. We're doing it. You know, or if you guys got some ideas too, that'd be great.
Yeah. How collaborative is he?
Yeah.
Like, how open is he to like input?
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. Speaking of seeing,
ooh,
you and I saw a movie in theaters. Emphasis on being the article, because it's not the Minecraft movie, it's a Minecraft movie.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this. This is paired up with our recommendation, and I'll introduce this one.
Perfect.
Because I'm the Minecraft boy, I think, out of the two of us, right?
Yeah. Well, Preston.
You get like secondhand exposure.
To some extent. I was trying to, we'll get into it, but
doctors are going to have to check you for a Minecraft tumor with all the secondhand Minecraft.
Not a whole lot. I know about the Ender things, the Ender beings, and
that's more than I thought you might know.
There were a couple things that got hit there, and then there was a couple things that people went wild for that I was like, I'm surprised Preston hasn't told me about that.
I had a question for you, but I'll ask it after I do this thing. So a Minecraft movie, 2025, came out this year. It's still out in theaters as of this recording. Is a fantasy adventure comedy film based on the Minecraft video game by Mojang Studios, the game in which it came out 2011. It is the most successful video game of all time.
Really?
Surpassing, I think, Super Mario Brothers and Wii Sports as like the highest selling video games ever made.
I could see that.
And it's based on the game. It centers around Steve, played by Jack Black, who decides that he yearns for the mines. He's a kid and he yearns for the mines, but he has to wait till he can grow up to break into that cave and he discovers the overworld, which is this very creative, blocky landscape in which he can make anything that he sets his mind to. However, the fucking, what the fuck is her name? The evil bitch. Malgosha. Excuse me. Malgosha wants to get her grubby little hands on the orb, ironically shaped like a cube, and use it to control the overworld and
get gold
basically. Motivations are a little fuzzy.
It's okay.
Anyway,
don't think they're asking a whole lot.
Steve has his dog Dennis take the orb to the real world through the portal, where it is kept in his house, and then years later, Jason Momoa, who is like a burnt out video game champion who owns this store that is about to be foreclosed on, purchases it unwittingly in an auction, and then he has a run-in with these couple of kids and their realtor, right, or something. And
as their side hustle.
It is, as their side hustle among many side hustles. And soon the four of them find themselves in the overworld, the world of Minecraft, where they have to navigate it with the help of Steve.
Yes.
Where Jack Black comes in and he says, "I am Steve." And then when he said that in the movie, someone played a sound effect in the theater. So, Mac.
Oh, you had that go on.
I had that going on a lot. And the question that I wanted to ask you... So we're going to talk about our theater experience, right? That's going to be like a whole block, forgive the pun, of discussion.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, did you see this in theaters with your son? Because I know Preston is a big fan of Minecraft.
He went and saw this. So he's down in Tennessee. He went and saw this with a friend of his and his mom. So we went on the same day. I went and saw it Saturday evening. I was by myself.
Okay.
I put on my jacket and I told Jad, I was like, "Do I look okay to go see this kid film by myself?" And
you didn't have like a black trench coat, right? Like
it's that black jacket I got out there now, and I had just some sweats on. Maybe I had these on, I don't know. And there was a little bit of a back and forth between, all right, if anyone asks like what I'm doing there, So no, I went by myself, and I was thinking, oh, it's Saturday at 5, it's dinner time. Like,
oh no,
who's gonna see this thing? Wrong. Packed theater. Packed.
Yep.
Like, and
ours was fucking packed too. We saw it Friday, probably around the same time, like 5:30.
Yeah. I went to the Grand Haven 9 to see it.
I went to the Cinema Carousel.
Yep. I think that's your theater of choice now.
It is because I have the VIP.
Yes, which helps. Mine is my choice because it's 4 minutes from my house.
Yeah,
so
saves on gas money.
It's literally I could walk there if I wanted to in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed a seat, and it was thankfully it was like in the guardrails. It didn't look handicapped where they got the bench, for anyone. So I was like, well, I'll take this, and it's just kind of like I'm going to try to remain inconspicuous, and we'll see how it goes. There's a bunch of kids. There's a bunch of talking. Like the trailers are coming out. I think all but one were geared towards kids, and I feel like the one that wasn't was like, why are we showing this?
Right.
The movie gets going, and there's some high school kids in the theater, and I know this because like they would not shut up. And
fucking high schoolers, man.
I thought it was just gonna be like one of those things where like, all right, we're talking, and all of a sudden the movie starts going, and there's two obnoxious kids that are just yelling things out, right? Yeah. And I'm like, all right, like whatever. I was in high school before. I did some dumb shit when I went to see movies, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be completely invested in this thing to even care.
Right? Yeah. Because this is a movie in which I will say this right now. Like, if you're planning on seeing this in a theater but don't want it like fucking chaotic around you, just either wait till like a super late night showing or like wait like 3 months from now, Because I'm sure it'll still be playing in theaters with the amount of money this thing is raking in.
Yeah, but I think the whatever is going on with these hooligans showing up, the ne'er-do-wells, and doing what they do will end at some point, because usually that's how Flash things work, you know?
Yes.
So I bet you, like, in probably 2 weeks, you could probably go check this out. But no, I had this going on, and then all of a sudden, like, there are points in this film where these people are going nuts about stuff. And they're yelling. And so the I am Steve, like you had a sound effect. There was an echo in my theater going experience because someone was saying it in the exact same timing Jack Black was. And I wasn't sure if the sound went out, if it was reverb, if it was the intent of the movie. And then so after he goes, and you hear it like, you know, and at the same time, and he goes, "Hey, I'm Steve," and then the same, you know, echo pops up. I hear someone go, "God damn it, Gary, shut the fuck up!" And I was like, "Okay, so this is like happening, you know?"
Yeah.
And then there was a couple parts here and there with Snickers and stuff, and then when the chicken jockey thing came out, like half the theater went fucking nuts.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old now, or maybe this was a Minecraft thing that everyone was super excited about. I don't know. Because, like...
Do you remember when the Minions sequel was coming out and there was, like, a sort of similar thing happening where, like, young men would dress nice. They dress in, like, suits and tuxes and go see the Minions in a very ironic way.
Yes.
That ended up being also a similar thing of, like, the theaters would be a fucking mess after it was done.
Oh,
if,
really?
Like, these people were coming in droves, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, the employees would come in, there's popcorn everywhere. It's just fucking disaster.
That was, like, the thing with that is make a mess.
Make a mess and, like, overreact to the ironic enjoyment of the Minions. This is that times 1,000.
Times 1,000?
This is that, like, fully grown into like something. It has evolved from like the fucking Pikachu that it was to like the Raichu that it is now. Right?
Timely.
If I can be fucking nerdy about it. Is that it seems like the ironic enjoyment has like maxed itself out. It is like driven into overdrive, and like these people are coming to the theater knowing that these lines are being said because, you know, not to show my hand, a lot of them are stupid as fuck. Like, I am Steve and Chicken Jockey. Yeah. And then people are like, oh my God. Like, it's the idea that, like, oh, this is peak cinema. This is, like, absolutely the best thing ever in terms of, like, script writing and presentation.
The irony behind of why they're doing it.
And I'm going to lose my shit because of it. I won't be able to compose myself.
Yep.
And because of that, there's lots of TikToks of, like, people throwing popcorn and, like, shouting and, like, shaking the camera that they're holding in their phone, in their hand, or, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then employees come in and they're like, God fucking damn it. This is, like, the worst fucking mess I've ever seen in my life working here.
I find it, so it's ironic in that sense, but then I'm like, it's also more ironic that you're giving money to a bad movie. Like,
right.
You know, like it's one of those things like I get to go in here and I'm going to get 10 views on my TikTok page, but also now you're out $15-20.
I think there is a contributing factor of, with this movie and the Minions movie too, of these are such popular, iconic movies that are going to make a shit ton of money regardless.
Yeah.
So there's this weird idea that, like, because this movie is going to be hyper successful and we don't think it's good, like, we will get ironic enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
It's happening a lot. There's like this.
It's a carnival event.
It's a basic. Yeah. It's a fucking like. It's basically like one of those like over lavish weddings that they just like have fireworks at. You know. Yeah. Where it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go ape shit in the theater because why the fuck not? I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, not to say out of touch or anything like that. At a certain point, I was like, all right, like if this was, you know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like I'd be like, all right, hey, you know, like let's go,
right?
Figure it the fuck out. And not to say like it aided the experience or anything like that. It was just I was thinking during the film of like what is happening.
It's an overdrive of energy of the same sort of thing as like the Morbius film. And then like people had
I get it.
ironic enjoyment of the Morbius movie, but guess what? Nobody went and saw that fucking thing.
Well, I don't even know if it's like ironic enjoyment. It's more so if we were going to an event, not we were going to the theater to see a film.
Yeah, it's like being treated as like you said, a carnival or like a roller coaster.
I mean, I flash mobs. It's what it's turning into, and now we're just the only thing that it really upset me, and I guess having a young kid myself is like, all right,
if you want to take your son to a nice day, like to see a movie that he's excited for, then it's like, okay, well now I have to like decide whether it's worth it to like sit through this absolute fucking nonsense.
It wasn't. I mean, the way you're describing, mine was not that bad. It was like
mine wasn't that bad either.
A handful of kids.
Luckily, we live in West Michigan where it's relatively quiet.
Yeah, the Midwest. Everyone's like, that was bonkers. Like, yeah, man, high fiving, and meanwhile in other areas are setting fire to a theater.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
We're very simple, quiet folk. We get excited when Bucky Larson mentions the Midwest in his movie. The Leo pointing at the screen.
Yeah. So no, but even then, I was like also doing the maybe just being part of a theater going experience and knowing a 7-year-old's mind or an 8-year-old's mind is like they probably are not like, these people are really annoying me. Like
they're maybe happy that like, oh wow, people are liking this movie.
Yeah, the frenetic energy in there itself is probably bringing more joy.
Right.
And now it's one of those things that will staple in your head as it was a good film.
That's a good segue because this is a great movie, right? Awesome.
Yikes.
Well, that's the discussion, Mac. I'd say high 8. No.
Yeah.
No, this movie blows, right?
Yeah, this movie's. Okay, so I think this is how you felt watching like the Mario movie, you know, and I have like,
and to be clear, I do like the Mario movie overall.
Yeah, right.
I gave it a 6.
I mean, I know where you're coming from, and I was sitting here. I think the one thing that I do with this thing is applaud it because I think it took more chances than the Mario film.
This is a weird fucking movie.
It's very odd. I don't know if I think they were like, we have to appeal to 8-year-old boys and to their 35-year-old fathers. And everyone in between is just kind of left out and you figure it out.
Yeah. It seems like the most that this movie had going for it was like the sheer stab at like complete immaturity.
Oh yeah,
that it was going for.
We're just gonna be silly as fuck.
We're just gonna be silly as fuck. We're not gonna like really give a shit about like character growth or like emotionality. We're gonna be predictable as hell, and we're gonna do it in a way that is like just so like head scratchingly bizarre. We're gonna have moments where like Jason Momoa and Jack Black are 69ing in the air, and we're going to make a point of it.
Yeah, that was odd.
We're going to have the first 20 minutes of this movie be like a story of this like burnt out, washed up video game champion who can barely scrape by, and then these two kids who don't have parents. Yeah, and the real estate like lady who has like a petting zoo in her car.
It was.
It's like, what the fuck is this?
I think about like 2/3 of the way through this thing. I mean, I looked at my phone in the theater because I was like, when does this thing end?
The time you could get away with it, because like 3 people in my theater were like constantly checking their phone. But it was also just like sheer like weird energy when I was watching this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to be respectful. So you know, side pocket look at it, and I was like, it was 6:20, and I was like, all right, so we're at like 35 minutes to 55 minutes left. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, all right, let's just embrace the silliness of this. Let's just try to have fun with it now. And that lasted for 5 minutes.
Right.
And I was like, I really just can't I don't care about any of these people. This is like absurd. They haven't, the editing of it is crazy as hell. This is ADD and put into a film. Jack Black making up words. And then like, why do we have a burnt out guy, video game guy? Like, what message are we sending?
It felt like Jared Hess, who this movie was directed by Jared Hess, who I don't think I mentioned, is the director of Napoleon Dynamite, its most notable work. outside of this probably, because this movie is gonna make him so much fucking money.
You got Nacho Libre in there.
Nacho Libre, one of my darlings, Gentleman Broncos. We've talked about it on this podcast.
Forgot that thing got made.
It feels like his sensibilities and his style and sense of humor is constantly at war with the intellectual property that is Minecraft, right? Because you take Minecraft and you look at it on a face value and go like, how the fuck do you make a story out of this? Because I don't know if like you've played the game, but if you've seen your son play it, you'll know that it's just like a sandbox game.
Oh,
you go in,
I got the concept.
You like build shit, you like explore, you fight mobs, and that's like kind of it. The most of the story that you ever get in like the actual Minecraft game is fighting the Ender Dragon. But even then, that's just like something
I know.
That's just something you can do. That's not like a story with like lore or like plot behind it. You don't have to like rescue a princess. You don't have to like save an object.
It's a sandbox script. Is what it is. I mean, he could have went any route he wanted to. I mean, like that's and I'll say, I mean, it's the same thing with Mario, right? Your target audience is from 5 to 12, and then that's why I didn't get some of the other stuff in the film.
Well, see, here's my main issue with it.
Also,
too.
Spoilers. I don't know if we said that either.
Spoilers. Who fucking cares? Here's my main issue with that sort of thing.
I don't even know if you spoil it.
I don't know if this is a totally fair comparison, but I'm going to make it anyway to prove a point. The Fallout TV show that came out a couple years ago, right? About a year and a half ago, maybe.
Right.
But that is a show that's adapted from a video game that is largely open world, like Minecraft is. Granted that Fallout focuses more on story in the games.
Yes.
But even then, the show Fallout takes creative liberties and it's like, okay, we're going to establish our own characters, our own stories. We're going to have like nods to the games, but that's the most we'll ever go with it. Otherwise, it's a mostly original tale that we tell within the world, right? And I think that show works because you care about the characters, you care about what's going on, right? It's a consistent story that has like a tone that it's set with.
Yes.
And this is just like, I don't care about any of the characters. I don't give a shit that it's tied to like this Steve. Steve is a character that you play as in Minecraft, but he's not a character. He's just like literally a box you control, right? And in this movie, it's like, yeah, I don't really care. Like, there's no narrative weight to this at all that makes me feel anything towards what's happening. So then, if this is purely just for goofs and laughs, then I feel like that also kind of fails on that front, because it's like I don't really find a lot of this funny in a genuine way. It feels like Jared Hess is making fun of the source material in a way that kind of feels mean-spirited, right?
See, now that's yes. So that's kind of one. I'm gonna say I don't agree. I don't like the Fallout analogy just because that has way more going on in terms of a game.
It's a very sloppy comparison I made, but to prove an ultimate point.
Right. This one is, I'm trying to like, Harvest Moon would be a game where I'd come up with, and that's all you do. That was a 64 game, and all you do is harvest land in the game. That's why they call it Harvest Moon, and you get money, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many sandbox games there are in terms of open world with the creativity that you can take in this, but I do. And like I said, we're not the target audience, so it's very hard when you're not being, pointed at and saying this is for you to get behind and be like, oh, okay. Like, and there are times when those films end up being good films. I do agree though that the premise of what he was going behind was we were going to make this as silly and as fun as possible, but it felt very, we keep using the word, but ironic. Like it
doesn't mesh well with his like Napoleon Dynamite sensibilities.
Well, I see so much more Gentleman Bronco in this thing than I do Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Like this is a very, Momoa being a burnt out video game guy that has the name Garbage Man. I was like, okay, this has got to be just because if we say the word garbage and butts and farts in this thing, this whole theater is going to erupt.
Right.
But
Kids are going to love this like potty shit.
Yeah, but it also is like, all right, this is a video game, and now you're taking a video game guy and going like, this is what happens if all you do is play video games. So there's a weird message in here when you're looking at the character himself and being like, you don't want to be Jason Momoa when you grow up. Yeah, this is a video game, so all of you guys are probably on that same arc that Momoa is on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what I'm saying? So, I mean, you have these kids going in here and seeing this, and it's like, okay, is this a backhanded joke at the film? And it's like, Jared Hess, like, I fucking did this for a paycheck, you know? So I'm going to put in so much misconstrued stuff in here as I can. Like the 69ing, there was a really, like, inappropriate joke with, the blonde-haired lady, I can't think of her name. White Lotus.
Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah, about like
where she wants to fuck the villager the whole time.
It was Momoa, and she's like, you can park your car on my curb anytime. Just you know, I got some raccoons in there. I was like,
you can fill my trash can in an hour, like some shit.
It was
right?
so, and I'm like, okay, like obviously kids don't get that, but I do. And also, is that like she have STDs? Like, how? What?
Are you saying your ass is stanky?
Yeah. What the fuck was that? You know? And then they keep going on. Like, everyone in this scene has a bleak outcome.
Her character might be the most egreous part of this movie. But
dude, whole subplot. This was like,
we can put a pin in it for now.
Why?
The thing with it is we've been saying. It's the thing we've been saying about how like the clashing, ironic nature of this movie goes against like kind of what the whole like purpose of Minecraft is. Because the first like 20 minutes of this movie, I'm like, okay, what kid is going to be into this? What kid is going to be into these characters who's like going into this movie to see Minecraft? Mm-hmm. And then the main message of this movie is, to me anyway, oh, you have to like embrace your creativity.
Yes. Because
if you don't, then you know, you're gonna end up like fucking Jason Momoa or whatever, right?
Which
like,
I also don't.
Which the parallel isn't even like completely drawn. That's just like me digging more into the movie than I think it deserves.
I don't know the point of having him be the way he was.
And then the little boy, the kid character, the boy character, mm-hmm. who is like, okay, he's kind of like the main focus of like who we want to like structure the narrative around.
Yes,
as the protagonist. But it doesn't even feel like the whole movie is concerned with that being like the overall goal.
No.
Because you've got that, and then you've got that running in conjunction with like Jack Black trying to get the orb and stop Malgosha. But then you've also got Jason Momoa who's like trying to redeem himself for being a total fucking loser. So you've got all these like different storylines running together, and like none of them really feel like they like gel at all. None of them feel like they have anything to do with each other in any real consequential way.
No, I mean the kid got mad at him, called him a selfish asshole, like, you know, to kick off the third act or the last, you know, incident before. And I'm like, okay, kid, you've been around this guy. Like, what? You know, there's nothing that made him think or made anyone think that he's going to do anything differently.
Right.
You know, they're all tropey characters that fucking just go on the like one path arc. And then the whole story's trying to weave all this stuff together while it's just being outlandish and ludicrous. Like, it's hard to make any sense of how you're supposed to feel throughout this thing, besides like, I should be laughing at these points and like Jack Black's unhinged.
It felt like they took the gags that they wanted to do and the jokes that they wanted to include, and they tried to like morph a story around it.
Yes.
Instead of like the other way around. It's like, hey, maybe make sure you have the story locked down before you like get into the humor of it all.
Right.
Because then it won't feel so like non sequitur and like out of left field.
Yeah.
And,
a lot of the
organic. You know,
a lot of the decisions that are made in this thing is just kind of like we're coming to a lot of decisions and people caring for people in like a matter of hours and like deep thoughts and like really things I don't even think about as being a grown man that I would have occur to me as quickly as it does in these films.
Yeah.
You know, with these characters and the reflections that they make and the times that are not frenetic.
Yeah.
And it's just to take something as like I mean, and I think it's really hard to do, but like, hey, be yourself. Like the one line in Everybody Wants Some when he's talking about pitching, and he goes, "That's why we're so weird, man. You just got to embrace that inner you, and be like." I was like, that is so much more an effective way to get that across than this kid and being like, "You're trying to tame him, you're trying to do this, and you're trying to do that to him." I'm like, the only thing this kid's done is build a space launch thing that to me worked. Like, I was like,
all it did was knock the fucking dumbass potato into the river.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, we have to expel you and stuff, like very serious consequences, just like for purposes of driving the story.
It's brought up and then like tossed away instantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because the sister character didn't even know that it happened until like they're almost to the portal.
Well, and
then it gets resolved like the first conversation that they have in Minecraft. Right?
Dude, not only that, why the fuck is she going to get fired? She's the marketing director. Like, it's not like she was like, "Hey, Joe, you're going to crash this thing." I was dying laughing because they're all sitting there. She's like trying to go over the new marketing strategy, right? And that thing crashes into it. And I was like, oh, they're going to blame her. I was like, for no reason whatsoever. Right. How would anyone possibly fucking know?
As if those two things have anything to do with each other.
Why would, anything, the ops guy would get blamed? Like, why are you blaming your marketing director if the guy, like, and then he's like, you're going to get expelled.
It's that annoying thing of like, God, if you were just more normal, I could have a normal, successful life.
Yeah, which like, I didn't.
The movie's barely trying to do that.
Also, by the way, we got kids watching this thing. Let's kill off both parents. What are we fucking doing?
Yeah.
Like, hey, mom's gone. Also, you've got your 16-year-old chick, and she's 23, 24 in real life, I think. I'm watching this thing. I was like, I don't know how old this girl is.
She looked like she was 15.
Yeah. Like, are we going for... She's got, TikTok going. I mean, I don't know the marketing strategies. I was like, fucking, she just got her bachelor's. I mean, not even. It looks like she just graduated high school.
Right, yeah.
Mom's dead. I have to take care of you. By the way, you're kind of normal, but because you have a list, we're going to make you sound like you're fucking like this tragedy. You know?
we're gonna like box you into this like sort of like kind of loser stereotype.
Yes.
Where like the kids make fun of you and like clip the wire on your rocket. And it's like, oh, now it's all screwed up.
Yes. It's like
if you're gonna put this stuff in the movie, at least expand upon it in a way that makes me think you actually care about it, instead of just like an excuse to make these characters feel more like, oh, how offbeat and how zany and how quirky they are. It's the same sort of like Gentleman Bronco shit of like, oh, if we make these characters like weird enough, they'll be memorable, right? And it's like, no, this is just how you alienate people who actually want to see a real movie. Outside of like the kids who are just going to consume it because they like Minecraft anyway.
Well, I mean, that's why like watching this thing, I'm like, this is who they're gearing this for. In my head, I was like, they're gearing this for 5 to 12, right? And then we're gonna have some really inappropriate jokes for all the adults that have to come see this thing. But like, weird enough where it's not like they were throwaway lines. Like, they honed in on that stuff. Like, the 69 thing, I was like, okay, I guess the kids are laughing because, like, it's, butt to face. But I was like, this feels like homoerotic. Right? Like, this is, like, such a weird tone in a kid's film to have in here. Or, like, the Jennifer Coolidge thing going on with the
Jennifer Coolidge thing to me was more egregious because it's like... her hitting him with her car, she's clearly inebriated, right?
Yes.
And she makes a reference that that's not the first time that's happened.
Right.
Takes him out to dinner, just like totally heavily handedly
coming
implies
over
that
tonight?
she wants to like fuck the brains out of this villager.
Yeah.
Like that's all we're going to hear from the room. Yeah. Like, it's just fucking insane, unnecessary, and just, like, weird for a kid's movie.
Bizarre.
So bizarre.
Like, the whole thing was just fucking bizarre. It was... I was like, we're in bad shape here when they let off, and the exposition's just thrown at you. It's not even, like, well done.
No, like, Jack Black just kind of spits it at you as the characters are walking through the world.
Yeah, we're going to get this out. And then,
because it's the most effective way to get people into the idea of Minecraft if they have the story of like, strangers have fallen into like an unknown land, like the fucking Jumanji thing, or like even the Mario movie does it, where they're like, what is this place? And then like some thing, whether it's Toad or fucking Nick Jonas or Jack Black in this movie, comes out and is like, hey, here's how the world works and like how everything operates. By the way, I've been living here for like 20 plus fucking years. Like,
but yeah, I get, now that I'm thinking about it, like I don't even know how. He just tells us as an audience, and then it cuts off because it's not like anyone read it or he had audio or anything on it.
Well, what's crazy is we get the scene in the beginning of the movie of his origin story anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like we already know this world, and then we're just being told the same shit that we've already seen.
Yes. And it's like, it's Minecraft. I don't know. Like some of the ones I'm like, if you're playing it to a certain demographic, you don't need to have, in case everyone else doesn't get what's going on, right? Like I think that's like one of my grievances with some of these things are like, hey, we're taking really well-known like IP here, but just in case we are going to explain it to everyone else. It's like, no. It's a problem that I have with the Marvel movies when they used to have to go in there and try, and then like you see the converse side of it of, if you didn't keep up with some of the stuff, but like this is so simple, like skip it.
Yeah,
you know,
because that's my next question for you is going to be, as someone who hasn't really played Minecraft, right? How much of this like were you able to recognize versus like how much of it was like totally lost on you with like the actual Minecraft stuff of it?
So I knew the Ender Beings, I knew the Iron Golems, like I knew the villagers. I didn't realize that Iron Golems like protected the villagers. I'm assuming it's the same way in the game.
Yes.
There are things that I recognize that I didn't know their purpose, but like once again, I've seen Minecraft, even if I didn't have my son showing me or watching him play, the very little that I've watched him play, right? Mm-hmm. I know that world. That's enough. I don't need to have like, we were going into the village community, here's the Iron Golems, this is what they do. Like I get like that part did actually like set up the, you know, the end scene there with what's going on with the battle and whatnot. But like it didn't matter to me. To me, it's fantastical. And at this point, you know, you're in another world.
Right. You're in a fantasy movie. It's got its own lore, but like you can get behind it. It's not too different from any other setting like that.
That's what I'm like. The Mario movie we talked about. I mean, it's kind of like you could have like I think Mario would need a little bit more with the characters, right? And kind of like what they're. But in this thing, these characters are so not even the only thing that played a purpose in from who they introduce or what you may not have known are the Iron Golems. Outside of that, like Malgosha, I don't think exists in the game. Right. No. The Ender Being doesn't. The Ender Beings really don't play a heavy part until they get into the castle. But even then, it's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Other than like some bosses and like your character that you play, there are no like characters in Minecraft.
Right. So like the reference that you need is very minimal, in which they could do whatever they want to do. So like, I think I don't mind having all the callbacks and the references in there, and then you know I guess I take more so grievance on like we have to spend 20 minutes in the village and we're going to explain the villagers, and we have to have this guy come out, and like it's just filler, you know.
Yeah.
And Malgosha isn't even in the game, so at that point, if you're not even going to use,
there is no character called Big Chungus,
yes,
or General Chungus, or whatever the fuck it was.
Like you're making stuff up. So at that point, if you're not going to use a lot of references, like just have it for the diehards and don't really explain it.
So I've played Minecraft, full disclosure.
Okay.
I've been playing it for a long time. It's one of those games that you can get it on like any platform. You can even fucking get it on your phone if you want to, in a very limited way.
Right.
But I've been playing it probably since I was in high school. So like the past like 10 years or so, on and off. It's one of those games where I will find myself going long stretches without touching it. And then there'll be like a couple months out of the year where I'm just like engrossed in it again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to start a new world. I'm going to build a house. I'm going to go mining. I'm going to like go on these adventures and do these things.
Yeah.
And it's been kept up with and updated for this long because Mojang knows that it's like a highly successful game that if they just keep updating every once in a while, people will just be engrossed in it. Yeah. Like keep adding these new little elements over time, and you've got yourself like one of the most like longevity games ever made. And I was curious going into this movie, like, okay, how much of the actual game mechanics and like game world is going to be represented in this movie? I was like a little bit kind of charmed by the idea of like, oh, they acknowledge that the day and night cycle is like every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But then they quickly abandon that and it's never brought up again. It seems like daytime lasts for like way longer than that after. There's the idea of like the pillagers, like when they go to the mansion, the woodland mansion with those like evil villager characters. Again, that could have been like a fun thing, but they kind of like just serve as a gag.
Yeah.
I think there is sort of like the idea of, oh, there could possibly be tension in living in the world of Minecraft if you've never played it before. Because playing survival mode in Minecraft, the idea of it is, oh, I've got to get to safety before the night falls. Or I've got to like venture into this mine, but it's dangerous and I could die at any point, lose all my shit. It never feels like there is any form of that energy in this movie at all.
No.
But like the only time you ever really kind of get it is when they're first dropped in and then the night cycle comes in like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That's like the only thing, but even then that is played for like a joke and the introduction of Jack Black to the characters.
Yes.
And then otherwise like everything else just it's just kind of like Marvel action movie whatever, which is like, all right, that's fine. But like either go one way or the other with it. If you're not going to like embrace what makes Minecraft potentially special or unique, then why even make this a Minecraft movie at all?
Well, I think
I get why they did it. It's because Minecraft will make them like $3 billion. It'll be the most successful movie of all time. But even still, it's like, I don't know. I just kind of have to shrug my shoulders at the idea of like, yeah, this just kind of devolves into like, you know, they run towards the enemies and that's kind of it. Like,
well,
there's a way to portray the action. It's like, okay, you're using the limitations of the game. You're using like bow and arrows. You got to craft all this stuff.
Right, but you have to
set these traps.
I don't know if they had a story in mind.
They did not. That's the problem.
I think that they tried to encapsulate some of what makes Minecraft special and honing these creative abilities that through the kid. And trying to, but like they had 5 characters in this thing, all of them trying to do their own stuff, you know, weaving off of each other in terms of, you know, I don't even know if what makes this kid special, you know.
Here's a solution I came up with, and you can continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I don't. I agree with you, but I think that they'd have to take themselves a little bit more seriously,
right?
And I also, you know, at that point, how serious do you want to make a Minecraft movie? Mm-hmm. You know,
here's my idea. You take the kid, right? He's the main kid. He's the focus. Fucking take Steve out of this. Take Jack Black out of this. You don't fucking need him, right? It's going to be kind of the Jumanji thing, but hear me out. You have this kid who plays Minecraft all the time. Like, he's just, like, constantly in the world of it. And then when he's not in the world of Minecraft, he's also creative outside, like in the real world.
Right.
But his creativity from Minecraft into the real world, doesn't necessarily translate. It does something in which like it screws things up, kind of like how it does in this movie, but maybe in a way that doesn't feel so fucking forced and detached from the sister character, right? Have her actually be involved in this sort of dialogue. It'd be tropey as shit, but it would be something, right? Something to latch onto. Have him already be friends with Jason Momoa, kind of like a Marty Doc Brown thing where like he doesn't, you know, he's not like a super nerd, but he doesn't have any fucking real friends because he's always playing Minecraft and he's always like tinkering with stuff. Right? Kind of makes sense if you're friends with this like grown character who used to be like a video game champion icon, but is now kind of washed up and doesn't have any friends of his own. So then you've got like this interesting dynamic here. As tropey as it is, I think it could still work for something like this. You have them transported somehow into the game of Minecraft. This kid already knows his shit. This kid already knows what to do. He's like been through the fucking works before. They're like just trying to survive. Maybe you do have like some key threat. whether it's like the Wither skeleton personified, or if it's like, you know, the Endermen who are like causing stuff, or even like the Illagers who are lucid and cognizant, who are able to communicate and like pose an actual threat to them, right? Still within the world of Minecraft. And then you use this kid's creativity to get through any obstacle they come across. You show them going to mine. You show them doing the Minecraft thing of like, yeah, we're going to scrape things together by the skin of our teeth, and we're going to get through it. Like that is, I think, my ideal version of this movie. Right. Obviously, we didn't get it. I'm just throwing it out there as something to think about.
Yes. No, I'm not knocking it. I think that plays well to an age group that's probably 24 to 36. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is... I don't know if they're getting asses in seats with that.
They could still, like, retain the references, retain, like, the dumbass humor that Jared Hess wanted to put in this movie. But then, like, build it around a story that has focus and makes sense.
That to me, that's more inspiring for what you'd want an 8-year-old to see than what they got. You know, if this is
right. I would feel better about showing my kid, you know, that version of the movie. Maybe
this is yes. I'm trying to think. 21 Jump Street had a thing where they're like on Wi-Fi or whatever it is. When they're, have you ever seen 21 Jump Street?
Yeah. Dude,
you know,
I fucking.
Oh, it's up there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Along with 22.
There we go.
Shout out to Drew who gifted those to me.
Nice. They're I can't remember what it's called in the first one. They're going through like these phases, you know, and it's like severe energy to like acid trip to whatever. Like that's what this movie felt like. Was like that 5 minutes of this is what it's like on this drug.
Yeah.
Put into a film.
When Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill are like tripping out.
Yes, and they're talking to they're like in the band session and they're like he's clanging on stuff and then they're talking. The guy's face is melting like that. Yeah, I think there's a multitude of ways to go around doing this. As that I would much rather have seen that. That seems very much like Jumanji. But it's funny because like you're like, all right, this you could almost probably compare this thing to Jumanji and say what's ultimately a better film.
Similar to Jumanji.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you're just rolling dice and reading cards.
So indebted to Jumanji. And it's like, if you're going to do that thing, like embrace the tropiness of it. Yeah. Instead of like trying to shoot into the nether. The nether. In order to like land these weird Gentleman Broncos jokes.
Essentially. And I think that I personally think someone in their marketing team was like, we'll make this a viral thing. We know that this movie's shit. It's not very well written. Let's get a bunch of social media marketing going on with this thing with these kids acting like yahoos throughout this film. And
in the words of Tommy Wiseau, it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
150 mil budget. Right now it is at 323.4 million in the first weekend. We're not even halfway through this week, and the movie's already at like 300 mil. Yeah. My guess was initially that it was gonna hit 800 million, and then like that would be the highest.
You had 800 million tapped?
I think I was a fool. I think I was.
That's so much higher than what I thought this thing would do.
Really?
Oh God, yeah.
What did you think?
Me?
Yes.
I never walk into these things like I'd have to see the budgeting. I would say that this thing would probably double what it was budgeted at. So 300 million.
It already
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I don't think you going if you told me 3 weeks ago 800 million, I would have spit out my water.
800 million to me was lower just because like, all right, it's Minecraft. People are going to go see this anyway because it's the most popular video game ever. And like there's a shit ton of kids in the world that are going to flock to it. But my thinking was like, oh, it's going to like have a quick, like hot, fast opening and then burn out.
That's a quick, hot, fast. Like if 300 million, in my head, even right now, I'm like, this thing's going to tap out at like 450, maybe 5.
And now with this trajectory, I'm thinking like 1.2, 1.3
I don't see.
That's my new prediction.
I don't know. I'm gonna go 600 because one, the social media frenzy behind this thing only lasts for so long. Mm-hmm. There's only so many high school kids aren't gonna see this thing. I mean, I would assume. I have no clue because that's probably what's driving this shit too. Is like you've got the kids that are gonna see it, right, and the repeat customers of maybe the parents are like, we'll go again. right? Outside of that, it's not like Titanic. It's not like, Endgame where there's so much stuff in there that like I want to see it because it's generally a good film. You're going to, like, the repeat customers aren't going to go, and then the high school kids doing all the dumb shit that they're doing right now only lasts for so long. Because, like, next weekend you go and do that, everyone might be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're seeing a Minecraft movie? It's like, yeah, like, we're doing, it's like, no, that's not, like, that's so lame. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know, but also I think it depends on those two things of, do these kids get the parents to take them back? Did they love it that much?
I think the parents who take their kids to this movie, especially in the midst of like a large crowd, are just like, I never want to go to a theater ever again. Like,
no one's got
get me
any
the fuck
idea
outta
that this
here.
is going. Well, I mean, unless you're really tapped in with social media and keeping up, because I don't. This would have to have a hashtag somewhere. You're gonna have to see a bunch of stuff going on. Like, this to me really feels like high school kids that just want to be dumb.
Hashtag chicken jockey.
Yeah. Yeah, that fucking reel came on, and I still didn't know that he said chicken jockey.
I like how you say that reel as if there's only one. There are so many different ones.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, like, I lump them all into what I saw. I'm like,
Right.
how different does it get?
Yeah.
Right? I don't.
You're
need
like Doctor Strange seeing like the 14 million different realities,
Yes.
and they're all the same one.
Yeah, exactly.
They all end the same way.
Okay, you could be as dumb as you want to be. It's all you're doing it at that same for whatever you need to yell out, or go nuts on.
Yeah. My theater, Chicken Jockey was a big one. I think I mentioned earlier that when Jack Black said, I am Steve, someone like played a sound bite.
Yep.
Like a like that type of shit.
Yeah.
I want to say people popped off at Diamond Armor. People popped off at Flint and Steel. Like certain lines that were just even in the trailer that people were memeing on before this movie even came out.
Yeah.
They were like, yep, I'm going to parrot that as soon as he says it.
Can't wait.
Like they're leaning forward, sweating.
I'm going to be the only one in the theater to do it. I can't
Sweat
wait.
dripping down their nostrils
No one's
in
gonna
anticipation.
see it coming.
Chicken jockey! Like their veins are popping out of their head like they're Tom Hardy from Venom.
Yeah. And then they look over and some guy in the corner's doing the same thing. And it's like either that guy's the coolest guy I know or we're both idiots.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And then they look back and Mac is just like disappearing into his seat.
I literally sat there the whole time with eyes on it. And it was like, like first 20 minutes of, I don't know what they're going for.
Yeah.
And then it turned into, this is going to escalate really quickly and I'm not going to like it. And
I looked over and Drew looked like he wanted to like disappear in his chair.
dude, it was a movie of just callbacks and throwaway lines. Not even like well written. I
went into this with the thought of like this is into this discussion anyway. This is I think what I enjoy the least about movies. Like this is like all the worst things about like newer released films.
Yes.
Like distilled in like a vial. Like squeezed into like a pure form.
could you call this art?
I call it fart.
Yeah.
Because it stinks. That's my
Nice.
final verdict.
Nice.
Was there anything else we wanted to say about a Minecraft movie?
No, God, no. I tried to embrace myself in this thing, and that, like I said, it lasted 5 minutes, and I just was like, I can't do it. I don't know. I think I give it more, in a weird way, more props than I do Mario, but like also after talking about it, I think it's not necessarily props. They just went and said. Mario actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is a way better film than this thing because Mario actually is like, we've got a story and we're going to try to own up to this.
Mario, it at least feels like it knows what it is, right? It feels more focused.
No, this knows what it is. This guy we can shit into a bag and throw it on screen, and as long as kids are laughing, we'll be all right.
I don't know if that villager knew what it was.
If you walked up to Jared Hess and said like,
I don't know if that villager knew this was a consensual situation.
well, at some point he did. Yeah. I bet you he would have he'd just really just start bursting out laughing and was like, dude, I had carte blanche on this thing. I could do whatever I wanted. I didn't even have to have a script going into it.
Yeah.
And that's when you know that guy was like,
kicks his legs up on the table.
Yeah.
leans back.
Like Mario, I bet you there's way more thought going into that script, and like, how do we make this a little bit story driven and yet have some of the things that people are going to recognize going on,
right?
And still try to have you care about the characters.
How do we make this feel like a Mario movie? Yeah. And then this one is just like, hey, what if we like all did ketamine and then made a film?
Like, I am not lying. All right, all right, here you go. This is how when you know it's just trash, right? Take out the fact that it's in a Minecraft world. Substitute anything else in there. Let's say that they were in Omaha, Nebraska, and they were just on the streets doing that stuff, and the villagers were all conked out because, they get drunk or whatever. Like, there's no difference in the humor and what's going on. It's just substitutable, right?
Yeah.
Like, none of this holds the fact that it's Minecraft, besides they have the images and some of the things that are in Minecraft in this.
Yes.
Outside of that, there's literally nothing that's attaching us to the overworld, right? Like, that's it. That's where it, and then the characters suck. Momoa's not even funny. Jack Black, I'm like, dude, what? Do you have a monopoly on kids' films now, or
video game films, to be specific?
Yeah, and
Mario, Claptrap, and Borderlands. This movie. I feel like there was maybe one more, but I can't remember right now.
Maybe,
I don't know.
And then I'm curious about the careers of the two kids that are in this thing, and if they go anywhere. Probably they won't have to, honestly. They probably got like 5% on whatever royalty on this thing.
Nice, comfortable Netflix studio show is what I'm predicting.
Next, yes.
Let's get into ratings.
Okay,
you go first.
I don't want to.
Oh, that's too bad.
I've said all the things that I've said. Now I've really.
Do you want me to go first? I will go first if you want me to.
No, because I'm gonna give it what my heart's telling me. This thing is a 3 out of 10. I had it at a 6, and I literally was like, I am more. I think I'm a little bit more.
I felt my spirit leave my body when you said that.
I'm not as critical as you are with some of these films. Like, just hearing you like talking about the story that you would have had with it, it's like, yeah, but I don't think that's making, $300 million in the opening weekend. It is a better film. Don't get me, like, 10 times better than what we saw. That. My point is, I understand, like, when, hey, we've got a money grab going on, and this thing was a money grab. And I was like, I bet you, like, when I talked to Preston about this film, he's going to love this film. And I don't want to knock that. So, like, I'm not going to, this is, for me, a 3 out of 10, but for him, it's like a 8 out of 10. So, like, a 6 is about where it's at, right? Yeah. After talking about it and just kind of thinking about it, I'm like, no, this thing's trash. It's awful. Not to say I would be like, hey, Preston, we're not watching this film. I'd throw it on for him, but there's no way in the world that I'm like, oh, I remember this scene. Yeah, Let me watch this, So, yeah.
3 out of 10 for Mac. I had this at a 4 originally, because my thinking, kind of like yours was in relation to the Mario movie, was at least this feels like it's kind of like showing its ass. It's like throwing itself out there in a way that's just like unabashedly like,
yes,
yeah, we are a piece of shit, aren't we?
Yes.
But then I thought about it and I was like, I don't really respect it for it simply because it's saying it's trash, right? It's like the Ryan Seacrest thing of like everybody was making fun of him, calling him gay, and then him going like, haha, yeah, I am gay, right, guys? I'm having fun too. And it's like, well, now we're just not having fun with it anymore. And I feel the same way towards this movie. It is almost everything that I just straight up do not like or think is awful about like modern blockbuster filmmaking. Endless references thrown out in service for a story that might otherwise be focused or coherent or enjoyable or followable. Humor that just doesn't match up with the tone of the games or like anything that it's going for. Feels like the stories just do not mesh well with each other. The performances are just like straight up on like a drug-fueled bender, it feels like. Yeah. Jason Momoa just like snorting ounces of ketamine before each take. This is a 3 out of 10 for me.
Nice. Wow, how about that?
Yep.
Yeah, I have to go in there and reduce my score. Yeah, nothing really forgivable about it. I will say if you have a a kid in your, I don't know if I don't even know if like young girls would gravitate towards this thing. I think it's simple enough for them to follow and keep up with and maybe like have references, but like, and I don't know, maybe I'll find out in 5 years if they laugh at, butt jokes and garbage man references, know, but
funny lady has llamas in her car.
Yeah. That's a great summation.
Can I, just before we move on to the next movie, can I share with you the Pizza Hut story? So after the movie was done, Drew and I hadn't had dinner yet. And we were like, yeah, let's grab a bite to eat,
Yeah.
There's, if you've been to the Cinema Carousel in Muskegon, in West Michigan, you'll know that there is a Pizza Hut that is right across the street from it. And Drew was like, oh, we could go to Pizza Hut. It's right there. I have not been to a Pizza Hut, like inside of a Pizza Hut to eat at a Pizza Hut in like a decade, right? It's kind of a rare thing now. It feels like it's something that is a product of like pre-COVID, right? Now most Pizza Huts are like, oh, if you want food from here, you're going to just pick it up and bring it back home.
It was, I'd say pre-delivery is when you'd sit down and eat. As soon as deliveries kind of came out, like that style died.
But even then there was like a novelty to Pizza Hut and that like, oh, it had a buffet and you had servers who would bring you food. Yeah. This place was like, we walk in and the vibes are just instantly bad.
Oh,
like, bright red everywhere with like this like weird stained glass aesthetic, like brown and red stained glass aesthetic that is just like aggressively attacking you as you walk in. There are only 2 different, I think, families at different tables in the restaurant, so it's virtually empty, and both families are kind of loud in their own way, and it's echoing throughout. Right, I can hear every word.
You guys are like,
we're
gonna sit down and eat here.
So we walk up, and it's not even like seat yourself. It is order at the counter, and then we'll bring you your food. It is like kind of Culver's, and I love Culver's. Don't get me wrong, but it is like Culver status now. Of like, look at how far we've fallen. We used to have waiters, and now you just like come up here and tell us what you want, and then we'll just throw it at you when it's ready. And I looked at it and I said, like, I'm getting pizza tomorrow because I was getting pizza with my family at Fricano's. And I said, I'll just get like a pasta or something if you want to get like a personal pizza or whatever. So then I go up and I stand in front of the register. And the girl's like, she's got like a handful of change. And she's one by one clanking the change into each different slot that it goes into the cash register. So it's like clink, 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 clink. Clink knows I'm standing there because I am 6'1" and she was about 5'2", and she does not look up or acknowledge or anything. I'm just waiting for her to get through this change, and it takes her about like a minute. And then after she puts the last coin in, she looks up and she goes, "I'll be with you in a minute," like very quietly, right? And I'm like, "Oh, no worries." And so then she like waves her manager over, who's just about as short as her, right? Not to like take shots at short people, just in comparison of like, I am a looming presence, right? I am very hard to miss. They know that I'm standing there. And so
do they?
She walks up and she like, they start talking amongst themselves, and she says something like, I think I need help with this. And she's like, oh, you need help with this? And like, they kind of like, they look like they're futzing around with the cash register.
Yeah.
And like one of them starts using their phone, and the other one's kind of like slowly messing with it in a way that's like, are you actually doing something here? And so then this lasts like a minute and a half. And I look over at Drew, and he's like, we can go somewhere else if you want. And then like I give them 30 more seconds of leeway.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like looking at them, and they're not looking up at me as if they're like a dog that's done something wrong, right? They don't want to look me in the eye. And then after 30 seconds, I look at Drew and I go, yeah, let's get out of here. And we ended up going to B-dubs instead.
Nice. So
anyway, that's my Pizza Hut story that I so lovingly wanted to interrupt the flow of the podcast to tell.
Well, you had to get it off your chest, man.
I
don't really have any problems with people when they're like that, because it's a service and they're not getting tipped, or the $8 that they make, they don't make any extra or more money.
Not that I had like an issue necessarily. It's just like,
it sounds like you had an issue.
I am a hungry boy, and I wanted to order food, and it was taking them forever to get through it.
I think you got to look at the corporate structure and look at how they're incentivizing their employees to make sure that their clients or the people that they're servicing are serviced.
So you're saying I should egg that Pizza Hut? is what you're saying.
Maybe.
Or the corporate offices.
I'm not gonna lie, shocked that Pizza Hut is still around. And it's not just the employees that are there. I mean, I am just shocked that they still offer a dine-in area with a buffet.
It's crazy. And the aesthetics are like hostile. Like
you're in
it and it's all red. It's like,
have you ever been into a Pizza Hut? Like,
yes.
Like
2 days ago.
Dude, like that's how they are. They're still around. Like I in 2017, 2018, I got Pizza Hut with someone, and I remember just being like, this place has not changed since I was a kid. We used to go there when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. It is literally like the same. Like, I mean, what am I saying? It's the exact same thing. They're outdated. You know,
some places that can be a compliment. Like, oh, this place hasn't changed since I was a kid. Like, look at how good this is. And
if the service is good. Sure.
Right, and then you go to a Pizza Hut and it's like, no, this is an indictment.
Like Buffalo Wild Wings hasn't changed in 15 years, and I'm fine with it because I go in there and they help me out with my food.
Right.
Like that place is like, you walk in there, some of those places, dude, there's a Little Caesars down the road from us, and you go in there to get a hot and ready that's already made and ready to go, and it takes for fucking ever for someone to come up and like, hey, can we help you? And like, you know what? They make $9. This is the most boring job. They might be high.
Might be
like, what else? What are you gonna do? You got to make money. So
true.
At some point, I go like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But and then I want to be like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking tell someone. Like, I'm gonna put it on Twitter, and I'm gonna signal.
You won't find me doing that.
Single them out.
You won't find me doing that shit. No,
and
thank
then
you.
It's like at this point now too. I'm sure people are like, great. You know. I did get when I was in Big Rapids, we did that because we got cold pizza, and it was not the exact order that we had, and they credited us with 2 free large pizzas.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It was very nice. I felt rewarded.
Sounds like the proper way to go about the Pizza Hut experience.
Yeah, and going against the order.
Speaking of the order. So full disclosure, so Mac is using the bathroom right now, and I went out to check on something, and I heard his stream lasted about 45 seconds at least. So he's got like a very strong, formative urethra. He must be proud of it. It sounded real strong and like sturdy.
That is what happens when you have 3 liters of water.
I was doing a little private anecdote that I'm gonna keep in because I went out to check on Megan, and you had a consistent stream there, my guy.
It did not end.
It did not. It did not sound like it ended. I was saying it lasted at least 45 seconds.
There's sometimes like when you pee and it's like, oh man, this feels like the right amount that I held it in, and then there's times where it's like I'm ready to stop.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't.
Like, oh, this is kind of starting to hurt a little bit.
Oh yeah, there's more push than pull, if you will.
Yeah, this is more effort than I think it should be.
Yeah, the bladder is not being emptied at the rate that I'd like it to be. So
no.
Yeah, that was I had to go right when we started talking about Minecraft.
Oh Jesus.
Well, I got this thing. I downed the energy drink, and at work I had a coffee, and I got a 40-ounce water bottle that I like drank 3/4 of it before I got here. So,
thirsty boy.
Well, you just got to keep up on your fluids. So.
That's true. That is something I need to work on. Is I don't get enough fluids inside of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Need more fluids pumped in me.
You're not uncomfortable urinating.
Not often. Not often.
Yeah, that's anyway. One of the downsides of cramming all this in.
Speaking of cramming, I'm not going to have as good of a segue as you did last time, so we'll just get into it. The order. Your recommendation.
My recommendation, the order.
All right.
The order.
Take it away.
I got it. All right. The order. I don't know if everyone knows what we're talking about.
They're going to.
And a 2024 film. Written and directed. Justin Kurzel is the director. Written by Zach Balin, and it's based off source material of The Silent Brotherhood. written by Kevin Flynn and Gary Gerhardt, based on true events. That for some reason, this film, I don't know if they led off with based on true events or just neglected that fact in full until the end. I had no idea. I thought this was a somewhat fictitious tale.
I think the beginning says this is based on true. They don't say events. They say something like this is based on true experiences or something like that. Yeah.
Like and yet still kind of weird because the Jude Law character is not a real person. It's more of like a amalgamation or a culmination of multiple people.
That's how a lot of these movies are. It's just, we'll just say based on, and then we'll have a lot of leeway for whatever we want to do. And then it still doesn't feel like they do that. But anyway.
Okay, so starring Jude Law as Terry Husk, Nicholas Hoult as Bob Matthews, the man with two first names, Ty Sheridan, though. I haven't seen Ty Sheridan in a while, as probably from Ready Player One.
That is a lie. We have seen him semi-recently. Tree of Life.
Yeah, but I mean, like...
He's the youngest in the Tree of Life.
I know he is, but I'm saying, like, movies where he's grown up, Ty Sheridan.
Yes, I've watched Ready Player One for the first time recently.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it. Mm-hmm. Mark Maron is Alan Berg, and then a bunch of ne'er-do-wells in this, the people that I don't really recognize that they would make you think you should know.
Journey Smollett as the female FBI agent Joanne Carney. She is the sister of Jussie Smollett.
Oh, isn't he the guy? Didn't he have some shit go down?
Yeah, he tried to say that he was attacked by Trump supporters, and then he made it all up, and then that turned into a whole scandal, and he was fired from his show that he was on.
Oh, no.
And that is what he will be known for.
Yes, because that's how I know him now.
Yeah.
And so the order. The movie starts off with, I believe it's Jude Law, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Right, and it's kind of he's entering the town of Idaho, and there's like a lot of.
Is that how it starts, or is it the two guys killing the one dude?
Maybe that's how it starts. I honestly, I think
they
that
like take him out of the woods. And then they kind of
there might be
old yeller him.
Well, I thought. Anyways, they show you the town, and then they get this guy that gets killed. And Jude Law's coming in, and it's really nothing to do with that act of killing. It's just kind of he's looking for a quieter place
He's
to
vibing
kinda,
in the woods.
Yeah, we'll get into Jude Law, and it's not his fault. And he's getting into Idaho, and he's kind of observing the town and realizing that there's some white supremacy stuff going on, which I don't think you can lay on quietly.
It's not nice.
Yeah, and he was expecting nice because he goes out in the wood and fishes and likes to listen to nature. Great mustache.
Fantastic mustache. I'm glad we're bringing it up now so that I don't have to hold it in the whole time.
No, anyway, we'll talk about Jude Law. And he meets the sheriff and one of the deputy sheriffs, and he starts kind of asking some questions about what's going on in the town of wherever he's at in Idaho, because I don't remember if they talk about it. Because he's in Idaho, but then the bank robberies are in Washington. This thing jumps around.
Yep.
And we get into some bank robberies, and we find out Nicholas Hoult is this white supremacy leader that is running a revolt off of a book called The Turner Diaries, which is a real thing. And we kind of get down into this cat and mouse chase, essentially, right?
Yep.
Of Nicholas Hoult just being a little too smarter than Jude Law with everything going on, and Jude Law losing it once again, as he does, and every time he gets into these really big cases, trying to take down organized crime or organized white supremacy.
He overdoes it.
Yeah, and he can't help himself, because that's what you want to do. You want to stop the bad guys. So here we go. We're going to go into the order.
Spoilers for the order. Not the order that I wanted to place at Pizza Hut, but the order, the film.
There we go.
Starring Jude Law. So I was aware of this movie before you recommended it.
Oh.
This is one that was already on my watch list.
Okay.
I think I was talking about it with Drew one day, where we were like, what are some like good movies that have come out that have kind of like slipped under the cracks of last year, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are some movies that, flew under the radar? And this was one that was coming up, and we watched the trailer for it. I think I watched it at his house even. And I said, that looks like it could be good. It looks like it could kind of be like a Jeremy Saulnier,
Yes.
kind of like nice, quiet, well-shot thriller.
Yeah.
And I like movies about, neo-Nazis getting their justice. Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have to emphasize it too hard when I say that, but nonetheless, I was a fan of the premise, and so I added it to my watch list. And then you recommended it. I was like, "Oh, perfect!" Max
Nice
already got
timing.
this on his radar.
Yeah.
I've already got it in the back pocket, and I've been looking forward to it anyway. And then I watched this movie, and I think to myself, that was a really well shot, well acted. Kind of nothing burger, right? Like, it seems like this is a movie where like there's so much about it that I do appreciate.
Yes.
Am I, jumping in to like watch this movie? Am I excited to check it out in the same way I am with like Green Room, or even something that is, I think I'm going to draw this comparison a lot with Zodiac, where like you take something that is like based on a real life crime situation,
and you Zodiac more props than.
No, I do too. And
Yeah.
that's where the comparisons are going to be made, is that like I think that this movie tries to be a lot like Zodiac in the things that it does.
Oh yeah.
But it just doesn't hold a candle to it, and it feels like it takes a lot of shortcuts to get where it wants to go. It does a lot of leaps that don't entirely justify itself, right?
I think the issue is, and I agree, the editing in this thing I didn't think was all that great.
The editing is not great.
No. And I think the issue is that they wanted to use so much of these real life events in the story that unfolded in Spokane, Washington, that they sacrificed what happened in real life versus taking some creative liberties to make the story a little bit more enthralling.
Because it feels like it is like one of those, this is based on a real story type of movies, and that like, yeah, there's a lot about this movie that is kind of like dry and impersonal and just sort of distant that would have that quality. But then at the same time, the story structure and the way that the characters are kind of like coming and going and like their writing, it feels very standard.
Yes.
It feels like I've seen this in movies before that are more interesting than this.
Yeah.
Right? Like the idea of, Jude Law is this like kind of washed up detective FBI character who is like at the bottom of a bottle every other scene. He's like a troubled alcoholic who's dealing with trauma, who's distant from his family, and he doesn't want to talk about it. And then you've got Ty Sheridan, who is like, the young, bright deputy sheriff who's like
wants to do right,
wants to prove himself, wants to make like the big shot calls. And then like you see like the air quotes evolution of that through the film. I say evolution in air quotes because it's like
weakest.
It's literally a switch. It is just like
the dumbest fucking thing.
Yeah,
and
we'll talk about that. And then you've got Junie Smollett, who is like the sturdy firecracker FBI agent lady who is like the most competent one and is like gonna rein in Jude Law's character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just a setup that feels so worn that it's like, I can't believe that this is based on a true story. But then there are other parts of this movie where it's like, yeah, I can't help but know that it is based on a true story.
Yes.
With just like kind of the uneventful ways it unfolds.
Yes.
The unsatisfying way that it concludes.
Yes.
And I would forgive some of that stuff if it just didn't feel so worn. You know?
I think there's a couple things they could have sacrificed for plot purposes, like the Alan Berg thing. As Mark Maron was good in the things that he said, we had the quote from it. That came, and then all of a sudden it got brought back up for no real reason. And I think it was maybe just shed light on these events that have happened,
right?
And like, hey, this isn't too far removed from this, But they have all these different scenes and events unfolding, and I think they sacrificed it at the character arcs that we could have had with some of these people, right?
Yeah.
All of them feel very tropey, very one-dimensional, right? And even when they try
100%.
to make them a little bit deeper, there's really nothing behind it besides superficial.
Yeah, it's just stuff that we've seen before, just totally played out.
Yeah.
It kind of just feels like they're going through the motions of what they think these character arcs should be.
Yeah.
Rather than like it being a narrative focus structured around this event that's real that they could make even more interesting if they frame it right.
Yeah.
Because the thing I like about Zodiac, and I'm going to keep making these comparisons, is that Zodiac manages to tell the story from these different perspectives where like, oh, there's an obsession with figuring out who the Zodiac is.
Yes.
We're going to show it through the lens of Robert Graysmith, where like the obsession becomes the mystery, becomes the plot, becomes the intrigue.
Yes.
Right? And David Fincher, we've mentioned it earlier in the podcast, is a very competent filmmaker who manages to not sacrifice the trueness of the story and the accuracy of the details of it in favor of like creating a more interesting story, right? I don't have an issue with movies doing that if they need to, but the fact that he manages to do both speaks a lot, right? And I think that there's a way in which like this movie could have done a similar thing, right?
Let's just right there. We don't have to show any of the bank robberies. We just know what's going on. It's all of the detective trail leading up to it. Everything that we're learning, he's learning.
Pick
right?
a lane and focus on it. Do you want to focus on like the perspective of the Jude Law character who is like experiencing these things in a way that they're like coming and going, right? We're not switching between perspectives. We're not like going from character to character.
No, I don't want his fucking perspective.
We'll get into it. I'm just offering a solution to something that
I know.
This movie seems to have an issue with, which is just like a narrative focus to make this feel like it has a goal in mind.
Well,
right?
and I think, not to cut you off, but I think
you're good.
The idea is the cat and mouse thing, like and game that we got going, right? But it never really feels very cat and mouse.
No, it feels like they wanted to have their cake and eat it too with all these different things. It's like, do we want the washed up detective story? Do we want the heat thing of like Nicholas Hoult and Jude Law are like two sides of the same coin?
Yes.
Do we want the Ty Sheridan being corrupted on this side of the law in expense of his family, right?
Not morally corrupted, but more so in the sense of sacrificing, his personal life for essentially doing right by the world, but like at what cost?
Do we want the Jude Law thing of like, this is his deer hunter moment in that this guy just wants to find peace in the woods? Like,
right.
Do we want any of these things that we can like latch onto? It's like, no, we'll just throw them all in there and then like hope that the audience can resonate with any of it.
We'll make it make sense.
Right. We're going to like show the like inspirations nakedly on our sleeve, and it's just going to be we're just going to show our ass to you. And that was something that was like hyper transparent to me like almost the entire time.
So I'm gonna read you off some stuff, and you gotta tell me who you think this person is, like their title on the film. Okay. King Richard.
Their title in the film.
So this isn't an actor. It could be the DP, could be the director, could be the writer, could be the
guy's
choreographer.
name is King Richard.
No. I'm not giving you the name. I'm telling you the fucking films, and you got to guess from hearing these films.
Okay.
It could be the director, could be the could be the score, sound design.
Forgive me.
Okay. No one. This caught me so off guard, and I didn't mean to. It was a fun thing that I remember like scrolling through this thing, being like, scratching my head. So all right, and I'm going from first to last too, by the way. So, King Richard being the first title that this guy's got registered on.
Okay.
Then Creed 3.
Okay.
Gran Turismo.
All right.
Bob Marley, One Love.
Oh, all right.
The Crow.
Oh no.
And then The Order.
Is it the cinematographer?
It is the screenplay writer.
Yep, Zach Balin.
The screenplay. How do you go from King Richard to The Crow, right? So, yes, I'm with you. And that's why I just brought it up. I'm watching this thing. I go, this thing is so beautifully shot. The choreography in this,
Love
or
the
not,
presentation.
the cinematography in this thing is fantastic.
Yep.
There are so many unique shots taken it, like the car opening to seeing Nicholas Hoult to then being shut again, right? Moving on cars. You got the highway scene, the ending scene with the fire.
The first, like, I think 25 minutes of this movie, I said out loud to myself, really digging the vibes of this movie.
Yes, I was like, this might be one of my favorite films of 2024. Like, I had that thought of like, all right, I got the Brutalist and Civil War. I was like, this might the way that
you're
it's
already
going.
kind of like slotting it in your mind of like, where is this going to fit if this like keeps the momentum?
Like Jude Law I did not like his accent.
There's one moment I noticed where it falters. Maybe you caught it more than me, but
it's more so of like Gary Oldman does it fantastically, right? He can weave and pick lanes, and some of the time it comes out if
Seamless.
he cares, right? But
right.
like Jude Law, like Tom Hardy, some of those guys struggle with it so much. It is so noticeable that they're trying so hard, and you don't know what accent they're going for. Like we said, it's a nondescript American.
Yeah.
Right? You don't fit into this region or that region. Tom Hardy, I think, is just trying New York. I have to go high with my voice to make sure that no one catches this. Jude Law, I was like, he sounds like just mumbling detective, and like we're not going to give him a whole lot to say because at any point his British accent will burst out like the Incredible Hulk and totally ruin this thing. But as it's starting, I was like, man, I really like this. And then they start introducing some of the characters, and then you kind of get a sense of where it's going. And it's like, okay, I'm on board with it. Let's see what we got. And then it just stops. And then it's like, we're just going to go through a series of events and we'll get you to the end.
Yeah.
Right?
Like this movie's going to be a series of snapshots of events rather than like one cohesive narrative.
Yes.
That's going to feel like something to hold on to, right?
And we're chasing Nicholas Hoult, but he knows it's Nicholas Hoult, and we know where we're at, and we know what the motives are behind all this.
We're also going to jump between Jude Law and Nicholas Hoult, so you get like an even view of the events from either perspective. But you're not going to really have anything from either character to like really make them feel interesting or impactful.
No, it's never like, oh man, now I see why Nicholas Hoult became this person, right? Or like I see why Jude Law wanted to get to Idaho.
Yeah.
Like the most you get is after, for no reason whatsoever that could be fucking identified, Ty Sheridan explodes on FBI agents out of nowhere. I was so goddamn annoyed with that. For whatever you want to say, I know that we're going for, right? No reason whatsoever that his character at that point should have that outburst. Nothing had given us that reason for him to be that emotionally impacted by what was going on.
It's so easily telegraphed after he has his outburst that Jude Law is going to have like the kind of like weird heart to heart with him in the car,
which thing is awful.
And it's like, okay, if you want me to believe that Ty Sheridan has gone through this level of character development in the movie, then like develop it, right?
Yeah.
That should be a simple thing. You work your way up towards that. And instead, the only thing you maybe kind of get is like the scene in which Ty Sheridan's wife looks at him during the party and is like, I don't like that you're here. Like, that's the only...
She looked at Jude Law and said that.
Yeah. That's like the only kind of thing that indicates that there's any sort of like trouble in like his life or in his attitude towards this whole case.
Even that right there, when she says that, were you ever like, oh man, Jude Law he's gonna be risky? You know, like the bank heist scene did happen. Like there's a couple events that were like superfluous to whatever was happening to make it like Jude Law didn't even feel like his character was like in control of his actions. It was like a guy on a string saying like, you will do this, you know?
Yeah, no, it's very clear to me like this movie is not concerned at all with like any sort of like narrative free will. Like any feeling that these characters could do or say something that isn't locked into what the movie wants them to do.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
A movie like Green Room or even like fucking Zodiac that is like totally like locked into the true events that happened in the real world it feels like these characters are just more organic. It feels like they're real people who live in a situation that could actually take place.
Yes.
Right? That's part of the magic of what I love about Green Room. Another movie in which, like, you know, they deal with neo-Nazis is that, like, these characters feel like they could be real people, right? I feel like I could, like, see them alive and like they feel like they have their own like kind of agency and decision making and like development, like all this stuff that like makes them interesting.
Yes.
And these guys are just so cookie cutter.
Yes.
They're so like written, right, to be these archetypes that they don't feel like characters. They just feel like archetypes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, this is the archetype of the drunk detective. This is the archetype of the like gung-ho junior detective. This is the archetype of the female like firecracker detective. Like,
yes.
I don't know.
No, you're spitting it. That's spot on.
Like it's just one of those things where like, yeah, is the most interesting character Nicholas Hoult as Bob Matthews?
No.
And even then, I feel like I can maybe say that only because I just like Nicholas Hoult, and I think that he maybe is the only one in this movie who's like given any sort of like depth as a character, right?
Not even. How was he? He wasn't even given depth. There's no explanation for what he's
I think
doing.
there's like an attempt at depth because there's the idea that like he has this like hateful rhetoric, right? He's leading this group of white supremacists.
He's literally the only one that's working with emotion at this point in the film.
And he also has this like weird thing that I'm not even saying I like this. I'm just saying that it's something that I can like kind of identify.
Yes.
Of like him having like a pregnant girlfriend and like his wife who, I'm not going to lie to you, Mac, I didn't know they were different characters until they met. I thought, because this movie, the fucking editing in this is so like, we said it's not good. I'm just gonna say it's bad.
Oh
right?
yeah,
because
yes.
the way this is presented is it jumps in between different periods of time.
Yes.
Sometimes it tells you, sometimes it doesn't.
Yes.
And then there's like, okay, so there's like I have no bearings. I cannot grab onto anything concrete in this movie because it just goes from like one time period to the next. So then I thought, oh, the first scene that we see him with one of these girls, and they both look very similar. They're both like the same height, same type of face, same hair color. Yeah. Right? The first time
one had glasses, one didn't, but it's okay. All right. Yeah. That's on you.
The first time, yeah, totally my fault. This movie is a masterpiece. The first time we see him with one of these girls is she's the pregnant one, right? And he's like, look what I got. He's got like all this money or whatever. And then he's like talking to her about like the future, something like that. And then the next time we see him with one of them, like his wife or girlfriend or whatever, which I didn't know were different people.
Very next scene.
It's like another scene that shows him, but I thought, okay, did we just jump forward in time? Is it at the point now where she's not pregnant and they have their like toddler son, right?
Oh man, yeah, I could, yeah, I get it's a little bit more permissible. I find it funny that you can separate them, but
and then like the next scene that you see the pregnant one in is like when she's in the car and then the wife comes up to her and is like, there's like this moment of tension between the two, and I'm like, so they are different people. I had the thought in the back of my head of like, am I stupid? Like, are these not? Are they the same? Are they different? I feel like they might be different, and then they're different, and I'm like, God damn it, my like fucking intuition was correct. Now, I just didn't let it happen.
That's where I'm gonna say, you talk about character development. It was that fucking guy's so poorly written, you couldn't separate the two. They had so much juice right there on like, hey, we could really tap into like him going, he's drifting between homes, and like, yeah, he's like, as much as he wants to sound prophetic with what he's doing, look at what the fuck he's doing to these two people, right?
Right.
Like we could have had something there. They don't even tap into it, dude.
Like, look at the messiness of his life. Look at how he can't get his affairs in order, even though he wants to like lead this new cause of like a pure race.
Yeah, and he's, I mean, like, I'm so good. Like, dude, you're doing like what the Mormon guy wanted to do. That they've just read it from, hey, the angel descended upon me, and so we get multiple wives because I don't want to be with this one.
Right.
Like No, and I knew because he said, "Hey, I gotta go. I'll be back." And I was like, "Oh, he's got the chick on the side, like that's the chick on the side." And then when he got home, I was curious how he was gonna talk to that girl. And then the kid comes out, and I was like, "Oh, double family. Wow, this guy really is a piece of shit." And then they pulled out the Turner Diaries. I was like, for some reason, this tells me that this isn't a good book. Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't think all the characters were shite, and the acting was okay. It was like subpar. Like Nicholas Holt's in a fucking rally, and he goes, "What?" He starts screaming like "Forever, us two, forever, us," and he's just going like "Forever, us two, forever." Like, dude, you've got the energy of the fucking room, and he's just like, "Yes, yes, yes." The fuck?
Yeah. It is. I want to circle back to the jumping between time periods.
Oh, that was
that was a big issue.
That's where I said the editing sucked, because I was like, not to. All right, I'm sorry, because I'm just gonna go off of. I got really frustrated watching this thing, because it went from being like, oh man, this is gonna be kick ass, to like, wow, this guy really fucked this up. And I'm not even blaming the director or the cinematographer on this thing. I'm blaming the guy that wrote this goddamn script, because this could have been a fantastic idea in which they really could have chewed off a lot had they trimmed out a lot of those events that really we didn't need to see. Outside of it was kind of cool, not even because there's one point Jude Law running with a shotgun just shooting into the air, right? Like, that's not even, he at least had like, get down, cover me, this is just like, ah, and then like, hey, but they're jumping, right? I think it took about 2 scenes. It was right before the Ty Sheridan thing popped up where they said Spokane, Washington, 1984, and I was like, okay, the last time I saw that, it was 1982.
Yeah.
I almost had to rewind the film to be like, did I miss something in here? And then I said, screw it. It doesn't matter, because even if I did, this movie's so shit with these timelines that I have to think out loud, do I have to rewind this to see if I missed something?
Right.
Like, come on.
And the one that really got me was there's the scene in which it cuts to them in the safe house. It cuts to Bob and his like 2 friends in the safe house. And it says something
at the very end?
Yeah, towards the end.
Yeah.
And it says the like timestamp that comes up is like July 7th, 1984 or whatever.
Yeah, so that's the
And he's like clicking away on his typewriter saying, I'm going to make my declaration of war. One of the guys comes up and is like, hey man, the van's here. Are we going or what? And he's like, go ahead, I'll meet you or whatever. And he keeps typing away. Cuts to another image of the safe house, same time of day, right? And it says December 7th, 1984. And I'm like,
really?
I'm like, wait, what the fuck? And guess what? Guess what, Mac? He is still on the typewriter in the same spot, in the same clothes, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Well, he never changed.
With like the same length of hair, and his 2 friends are still there wearing their same clothes with the same type of hair.
Hey, Bob, the van never showed.
And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, this is meant to be like a different point in time.
That did happen, yeah, because I thought that was so weird.
Here's a solution. Just get rid of any of that shit. Don't worry about it. So many movies are made in which, like, oh, we have to, like, stick to the true to life, realism of it. We have to, like, devote ourselves to making sure this is, like, accurate or whatever. It's like, no, like, audiences are not going to, if they want to dig into this, like, they're already watching your movie about this, right? Hey, I'm sure they're going to learn something after this movie's done.
Here's a great example, okay?
Yes.
And you go back on it, but, like, don't fuck up the ending of Miracle. Right, that's a 1980 U.S. hockey team that beat the Soviets.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it one day.
Don't mess up that ending, because people will probably be like, don't remember it being like that, right? But in this case of white supremacist leader out in Oregon, and 1984, 30 years ago, right, 40 years ago, at this point, creative liberties, go ahead.
Right.
Have some fun. I don't, people that are calling you out, I don't know if anyone is really tied into the book. I'd never heard of it, and I didn't hear anyone rushing up to tell me I had to see this film. So, like, have fun. Because
the way that the way the structure of this movie goes is that Jude Law and Junie Smollett or whatever her name was are looking for them, right? They're like the most wanted people in the country.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to find them before something bad happens. Like, they say that to his wife. Like, you have to tell us where he is or else something bad is going to happen. 6 months later, until they find him in the safe house.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this really like takes the wind out of the narrative sails. If you're going to like establish this sort of like, oh, there's going to be tension if they don't find this guy in time.
Right.
And it's like, motherfucker, you took half a year to get to this point. I understand that it's how it happened in real life.
Yes.
But if you're going to use the narrative stakes of like, he's going to kill hundreds of people, right?
Well,
maybe don't wait this long of a time in order to like bridge this narrative gap, right? That's why I'm saying don't include the fact that the date comes up on the screen. Take that out, and then that solves that issue.
Because there's two things that I do. One, take the date out and eliminate the July 7th scene. Like, have it just go into December. Don't tell us, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, I think the problem that happens is that they're building up tension with what is actually happening. That it's like it is large stakes, but knowing that nothing has happened, nothing did happen, that whatever is occurring isn't that drastic. I think what they were playing up on was the idea of the declaration of war and having all this money and being able to fund an army to take down the U.S. government, maybe. Like,
right, because they even say like, oh, they have enough money to buy an army or whatever.
Yeah, well, then I'm like, okay, so the National Guard comes in with 3 tanks.
Yeah,
like how much can
blows them to smithereens?
$7 million buy you? Like, are the army and the government's worth billions? Right. So like, you were talking fraction of percentage points to what we invest in that, like. I get that the Declaration of Independence may be more of a philosophical wage on war, and like this is like something that we could like. And he was saying, this is another thing that really pissed me off is that the idea will last and the legacy of what I want to do will last, and that's why I have to die here.
And then it all kind of like falls apart instantly.
Though it's never great to end the movie on an idea. I'll just say that, like. We're not paying to see a prophet or a fucking a false prophet go down screaming to the high heavens. This is my idea, and my legacy will live on. Like, people want action; they want to see something.
Or if you're going to do that, if you're going to go at it from that angle, make sure we properly see the fall of like when people start to turn away from this.
Yes,
guy. Because at the end, we're supposed to believe, okay, this guy is like at the end of his rope. He's only got 2 of his buddies, and even then they run away.
Yes.
And
like the declaration means jack shit.
He's the only one who's like willing to fight towards the end until he like gets burned with the house. Yes. And it's like, I feel like we went from like this huge leap of like, all right, he had like hundreds of these guys at his back to now
they robbed that armed car with 15 dudes.
And now we're just like at this point we're like, oh, we're supposed to believe that like everyone has kind of like left his side.
Yes.
Right? He's like a lone wolf standing on his own. It's like the leap from that to this is too small of a gap.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you got to build. This movie feels so woefully uninterested in building towards anything, and instead it just like plops everything on the plate and says, "Here you go."
Yes, like a fucking like a cinema narrative of real events. I mean, it was.
It's like it's one of those things where I feel like I could have gotten a similar level of intrigue reading the Wikipedia page of the events of this.
Like reading it, I was like, "Oh, I just saw all this."
Right,
and it's wow. Neither of these things are very like grabbing. I'm just really upset because I had so high hopes. This is like a bases loaded double play ball that nets you 1 run, and then the next is a pop out. Yeah. Like all the fucking potential in the world to make this thing like interesting and grab you, and literally it got worse as it just went on.
Yeah, I feel like I think I'm still probably a little bit higher on this movie than you are. Like, and we've been properly bagging on it for
I've got
some
nothing.
time.
I mean, I've already said the good I had to say about it. This thing drove me fucking nuts.
So you have an issue with the performances, specifically the Jude Law performance.
Okay, so here's my issues, and we kind of talked about them. One, the characters are shite. There's no real development.
I will not disagree with you that the characters are very blandly written.
And the two people that had to do a decent job did a decent job. I'm not knocking Nicholas Hoult. I don't think his character had much development or an arc whatsoever, and he had more to chew off of. I kind of more so blame him for leading a very unenergetic, unpassionate role, which I was also laughing while I'm watching this thing of like, all right, you get handed the script of you're a white supremacist leader. Hey, knock this out of the ballpark.
And we've seen him give energy. Like Nosferatu is a whole performance in which like, this is nothing but passion.
Yeah. I mean, dude, go to Mad Max.
Right.
Exactly. Mad Max. He's
even
got
more so.
Yeah, very small role, and it's almost similar, and and he hammers away at it. And this thing is like, I don't know. Anyways,
just give me something to work with.
My issue that I had with Jude Law, and I finally got it was by the time they were sitting in this goddamn car, and he does his like, I was part of the Lucchese crime boss syndicate takedown, what the fuck ever. I was like, I don't now believe that this guy could lead anything. I don't think that he could be a part of any sort of authoritative takedown. FBI, CIA, undercover.
They needed this character to be hyper confident. Instead, they went the other way.
And not even that. He's incompetent. Mm-hmm. He is not good at his job.
Yes.
He's not, and it's like they don't play into the drugs hard enough. Right? The nosebleed thing never really explained. He says it's pills, but we never see him do like lines of coke. You see him drinking, and it's only after some he's taken like some hard falls. They start out with him being in this really peaceful, serene, hey, I'm winding down, I want to get out of the game, right? And then that thing continues to play out. So they're like, we're going to have this guy who wants to be like, make him more of a pacifist going down from the river, the White Rapids, if you will, of life, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to kind of even him out. Parallels the whole time. There's nothing ever that shows him getting away from that side and drifting more into that, or in the rapids drifting more into the peacefulness, right? He just kind of floats between both. So then I'm like,
no, it's just he can kind of step into either whenever he wants.
He's lost, right? And then you go and then you start thinking about like, okay, like the good cop, bad cop thing, like, yeah, it worked. At what cost, right? And it's very like small stakes, but then you're like, okay, you just kind of bullied this kid into it. And it's like, maybe they got lucky, or they probably could have said anything to that girl. She was fucking crying her eyes out. He goes and shoots after those guys, doesn't follow the orders from the chick. They go and bust into the house. And like, I don't even know if that's how FBI raids work. He just continuously shows he's not very good at what he does. So we got to the final stakes, and I've already have it in my head that he's incompetent. It makes it so much more unbelievable that he found the guy. And then he runs in there into the burning house to try to like get him out.
And then one of the things that annoyed me the most about that scene is he has the moment where like he looks at him and has him in his sights and then decides not to shoot him because out of like some sense of like weird honor or something.
No clue.
That is like so poorly established by when Nicholas Hoult is watching him like look at the deer through his scope, and then he decides not to shoot the deer or like the elk or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be like kind of a weird callback, but it's so unearned.
Yeah.
And just like uninterested in like delving into the actual implications of that. I will always say that like a character that knows what they're doing and is an expert in their field and like has the confidence and the competence to perform their job will be more interesting to me than them doing the tropey, oh, this guy's a sloppy drunk detective who like stumbles his way through the case.
He didn't even stumble his way.
I think it's like this movie, it feels like their attempt at that, right? They're attempting to portray him that way. So therefore, like, all this shit is going wrong because he is a mess. Like, he's an absolute like trash bag. He's the garbage man. Well, now I think where I kind of like, I don't want to say disagree, where I have a little bit more leeway is I think the performances for what they want him to be in this movie is decent. I think that for what the movie is trying to get across in the most poor, like, ass backwards way possible, I don't think he's bad. It's not to the point where, like, it's distracting. At least
I am not saying his performance was bad. I'm the character he plays.
Yes.
That's who Jude Law himself in this thing. Like, when he's on screen, I want to know what's going on.
Right.
I don't knock what he does. I imagine he read this script and just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Sure."
Yes.
But yeah, I don't knock that. I didn't think. No one's bad nor good, I guess, is my point with this thing. Is like,
right, they're just kind of there.
Yes, which plays into how they were written.
Mark Maron might be the best performance in this movie.
Yeah, he tried,
and that's just him playing a disc jockey.
And that Alan Berg guy was like, I mean, I guess he did a good job portraying him. And it's at the beginning of the film, and then like
seems good
one
to me.
Other scene,
right? Yeah, I don't know. The performances to me weren't bad. I love the way that this was shot. This is probably like my favorite thing about the movie is like the framing of it, the lighting.
So this guy, have you seen True Detective?
Not yet.
Ooh.
Adam Arkapaw, I'm assuming is who you're talking about.
Who did this? Yeah, if that's a cinematographer, he did season 1 of True Detective with Fukunaga.
Ooh, okay.
Dude, like.
I will absolutely watch True Detective eventually, at least the first season.
Jude Law is, it almost felt like he was like McConaughey and Woody Harrelson put into one person in a really shitty way.
Right. Take the worst of that.
Yeah, like, hey, how do we make this uninspiring?
Mm-hmm.
Take the DNA from both these guys, just throw them together, and that'll be good enough. But like watching this, I was like, this has got True Detective vibes. Like you said, the lighting, a lot of the different angles with the shots. Like they had some nice sweeping shots, setting up like what do you call master scene? Like where the master takes, whatever it is, setting up like a helicopter going in over the fields. Just the car rides. Like I really liked it. Yes.
Yeah, I liked the way this looked. I liked the choice of lack of music in a lot of scenes. Mm-hmm. Kind of adds to the atmosphere and like the dryness that they're going for.
Tension. I think they were trying to do tension.
It
just worked out in a different way.
Well, that's why I didn't say the word tension, is because I really didn't feel that all too much. But the presentation of this is good. I think that I will say this movie is, I think, solid. I think it's fine. I think it's a movie in which, like, if I watched this with my dad, he would probably like it. Like, we would have a decent time talking about what's going on or what's not going on in the movie.
This is a 1990s, early 2000s, like 10 p.m. HBO.
Yeah.
Hey, if you stay awake, you can watch it.
You want to talk about movies on TNT? This is a made for TNT movie. It seems like.
Yeah, in a sense. The only reason why I say no is just because of the white supremacists. Like that seems like a little too touchy just to throw on for daytime audiences. No, that's why I'm saying, like, this is like, hey, Dad.
Probably have this on cable though easily, right? Because like, what's the worst thing that happens? Is
I don't
that
think
Ty
so.
Sheridan gets shot? Like,
in terms of graphicness, no. But like when you talk about the ideology of what they're promoting,
sure.
Like, I didn't know the Turner Diaries were a real thing, and then I started I looked that up, and I was like, oh, this is not great. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I started like, oh, there's probably a reason why there's no publication on this stuff. It's because they're not trying to promote that. Like, not to say we're doing a disservice, but like. It's caused a lot of problems, a lot of violence. And I don't think that Turner would want that out there, especially if something came up and they're like, oh yeah, I saw The Order, totally switched my frame of mind. And that's why I did the Sears Tower bombing. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like that is not something that you're going to want to promote.
No.
This is a pay-per-view, like you're going to have a subscription to something. Mm-hmm. It won't be bad though. You'd probably be able to watch it with pops. That's what I'm saying. Like where it's close enough to TNT where it's like, yeah, I've seen this one. Why don't you sit down? It's not bad, you know? And as like if you were a kid, you could watch it and almost feel a little bit of the tension and griminess and be like, these are really like dark, kind of spooky things happening.
If I watched this when I was 16, I would have the thought of like, oh wow, I'm watching like a real adult movie.
Yes,
like,
yes. And then you watch it as an adult and you're like, this is shite. This is shite. I'm not
gonna call it shite.
I won't. Listen, this thing is really well made. And I think some of the choices in terms of just the filmmaking are great. And I say shite. I think it's because this has such a juicy, to me, right? Because I like this had Blue Ruin feel to it.
Oh, absolutely.
To me, right? Like when
100%.
you said Sony, I was like, oh yeah. Like this had some True Detective. And like when you see True Detective season 1, you'll be able to be like, yeah, like I can see it because there's like stuff in here that if you wanted to in a rated R film, you could have grappled it and sacrificed some of the fucking events that happen to really build up these characters.
First 20 minutes, I'm sitting back thinking, is this shit gonna rip?
Yeah. Like Jude Law goes in there and he's out in the woods and he's got his fucking like the deer hunter thing going on.
Right, and he started doing that. I'm like, hell yeah, him doing like guys who are dudes type shit.
Yeah,
like out in the woods, roughing it.
Yeah,
like we're gonna learn some shit with this guy.
Hell yeah. And then he's like on the phone, he's calling, and he's like calling his wife, and that was kind of actually weird at first because I didn't know it was Jude Law because he's got an act like didn't have that accent. I was like, I don't know who's talking.
Right.
And then like you realize it's him and you're like, oh, some family stuff's going on. Is it's like, is the family not going to show up? What's going on? Is it going to wear on him a little bit? Yeah, maybe. Maybe it does. Maybe it's just the pills and we don't know why he takes them. He's addicted. Maybe not. He only takes 2 at a time. And it's not like he's popping those things like Oldman and fucking the Leon.
Right. It's like the movie leans back and is like, I don't know. Watch it.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Like, I got so mad like when he's calling he gets drunk after the botch like one thing he okay, I don't want to go into the commentary. I just got really upset when he runs out with the shotgun to stop those guys and it's like, oh, they're not there, they're over here, we're not going to call backup or anything. Oh, get out of the fucking car, back me up. And Sheridan's sitting there and then he's like just running firing off his shotgun. And then he just watches, and then that they drive by, and Nicholas Holt's got like the Mac 10, and he just drives, and he goes, he marked me. Why the fuck didn't you get one pass? And then he's like, I'm gonna get drunk because this is awful.
That's the scene in which I could see his accent cracking through.
Oh yeah,
because he like punches the windshield, and he says something like cocksucker, except he says it in a very British way. He's like, cocksucker.
Yeah, yes, and he's like, all right, that's it. I'm going to get fucking rip-roaring drunk and just make a bunch of calls to my wife.
Yeah.
And then the next day he wakes up, he starts drinking, and it's like, all right, like, can we get more of like the flask? Like more of the, like, let's really hype up that you're not doing well. Because like I get like you're just kind of old and you just seem like the game's too fast for you.
Right. You just kind of seem like your body hurts instead of like you're drunk.
I'm playing pickup basketball and I just didn't stretch, or this is the best I can do to stretch. Like, let me see more of like you really struggling here, trying to get a layup.
Instead of you being an alcoholic, it just feels like your pants don't fit right anymore.
Yeah. Grunting a lot more than I used to when I get out of the recliner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That is absolutely 100% true.
Like, wake up and go like this to my back. Like, it was just so, and then there's just so many misses. And I think what really frustrates me too is then you find out that the events of the robberies were true, but they don't get into detail about chasing these guys down.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, you really fucked that up. Like, I like some of this is based on true events, but like, let's get into the, if this is creative liberties on this end, like, then take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like, I don't know, some movies are too loose with the creative, the creativity that they can endeavor when it comes to like tackling true event movies. And then there are some movies that are just like too afraid to like really get interesting with it, you know?
Yes. This one felt very, we'll be able to do all right with it just given the nature of what's occurred.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that this thing could have...
Right, people will be interested in this just because it actually happened.
Yeah,
like, that'll be the only thing that hooks them in.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I had the thought of like he's incompetent at about the hour 20 mark. You know, so there's 40 minutes left of him just being a guy that I'm like, this guy's an idiot,
right?
And he's not very good at his job. I'm surprised that they let him do the Lucchese thing, right? And I wasn't yawning, looking at my phone, or bored thinking about other things. Like that thought hit me, and I was like, all right, like what's next? You know? So I mean, like they really just hold on to that, and like that's where I get mad at the screenplay writer of being like, you fucked this up. You had a really great idea here that you just botched. You literally punted it. You suck.
Yeah, you had a nice flower in your hand, and you kind of sneezed on it a little bit.
Not a little bit.
Yeah.
He dropped it, and then he stepped on it, picking it up.
Oh, no.
Then he looked at it and was like, well, they still know it's a sunflower, don't they?
And then he hit his head on the sink.
Yeah.
Shall we get into ratings with this one? Was there anything else we wanted to say about The Order?
No, I think I tackled it. That was a lot of my
You did tackle it. You like clothesline that bitch. It's like you were playing hockey and you just like checked them into the wall.
Kyle, you have no idea how frustrated I was. I mean, I moved this thing up a rating because I was like, oh, I didn't even know it was based on true events. I missed that part, and I was like, this is even more fascinating. Like me doing the research, I was like, this makes it better. And then talking about it, I'm like, no, I'm going back to what I had it as.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into ratings. I'm going first. I had it at a 7.
Yeah.
And then, you know, because sometimes I'm not afraid to acknowledge when our conversations offer a new perspective or like shed a light on something that really does rub me the wrong way in a way that I didn't fully think about, right?
You kind of knew it was there, and until you start going off or hearing someone else go off, you're like, actually, you know what? That is what I was thinking.
Right. And it really like taps at the specificity of the issues that I had with this movie, whether consciously or subconsciously. The editing is poor. The expressiveness is not there. It feels like this movie is afraid to be creative and unique in a way in which, like, yeah, maybe it serves like the real life story, but at the end of the day, I'm watching a movie to be invested. And it feels like this movie is so woefully uninterested in investing me in what's going on.
Yeah.
So this is a 6 out of 10 for me.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think the creativity in this lies more so in the camera work. As much as the ending scene, getting to that point was dumb and confusing, I did like a lot of that work. The lighting and that I thought was magnificent, especially I think like sundown, you know, getting to when they captured them with the scenery. I mean, a lot of it being shot on locations, great. The screenplay is atrocious. The characters are god awful. The acting's and I think when you have poor characters, acting can only be subpar or par at best. You know, like I don't know.
Baseline.
Yeah, I don't know how many times you've ever been like, that was a really poorly written character, but the acting was phenomenal. You know,
right?
Yeah, and then, you know, the true events, I actually marked it up because I was like, oh, based on true events. Oh, a lot of information in here. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I kind of saw all this. And then now having us talked about it and realizing just how mad I am, I think a lot of my anger and frustration came out in the fact that I was like, this is a really juicy topic that you have a small
The potential
town.
here was so great.
Oh, my God. Fucking outrageous. Yes. You can, I couldn't even... I don't know if I sat down, I could come up with like, oh, let's set it in the 80s, out in the Pacific Northwest, right? Fucking neo-Nazi, white supremacists robbing banks to like fund an army to take down the U.S. government, and one man can stop them, right? That's not in my head at all. And to have that guy do that and just be like, I've got it all laid out right here with the timeline. We'll just follow it step by step. Yeah, so this is a 6 out of 10.
Yep, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Minecraft bad. I actually, it's funny because I had So let me just tell you this. I get done watching this thing, and I was like, that movie wasn't all that great. I was like, I really thought it was going to be a lot better. 6 out of 10. And then I was like, what did I rate Minecraft? I had that as a 6 out of 10. I was like, just they don't feel on the same
Your
level.
heart kind of skipped a beat. Something doesn't feel right.
I literally did that with my head. I was like, that doesn't feel right.
No.
I can't even, in good conscience, this is not on the same level as that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we've got one more bit of business to take care of. Yeah. No game, no amazing reviews or anything today.
All right.
We're already kind of at the 2.5 hour mark. So.
Oh man, we bludgeoned that thing.
We did.
For a 6.
right. We kind of like beat the shit out of it for ultimately a positive score.
Well, I think, would you agree with that though? I have to get this out of me just because of how mad. I literally in my head said this could be like the Brutalist or Civil War for me. It's just with
part of the frustration is the potential and the sort of like this movie. It feels like it's trying its best to make a whole circle, but it just can't quite close the loop. You know. So that is part of the experience of watching The Order, at least for the two of us.
Yes.
So it's my turn to recommend a movie.
Sick.
I for sure know what I'm gonna pick. I'm not gonna kind of like hint at it because I don't know if you even know this movie exists.
Let's try it.
Okay. It's 2022 American independent slapstick comedy film. Now, don't let that scare you away because I would say it is more of a kind of like homage to older style films, kind of like Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin, Three Stooges, even like Looney Tunes.
Hundreds of Beavers?
I'm recommending Hundreds of Beavers. Have you seen it?
No, I've heard. I've listened to people talk about it. I also had a friend, Snapchat group guy, friend of ours was talking about it, and I was kind of asked. I was just like, okay, and they were describing it. Nothing giving it away. I don't think there's anything to give away in the same.
Not much to give away, no.
Besides what you're gonna see. So, it's like to me it feels like a hipster type comedy movie. So I am not sure. Sometimes those click with me. Sometimes they don't.
I will say, and I'm excited for you to watch this movie.
Okay.
I would say just like keep an open mind, because it's one of those movies where like I feel like 75% of people would love it, right? There's that 25% that I think like the humor just might not gel.
That's what I'm worried about.
So
I don't have, there's nothing going against it. I'll just say that. For me, and talking about it and hearing about it, I've heard both sides of the coin on it. The person that, that I usually take, like when I listen to reviews on films and stuff, like I usually respect their opinion. The way they talked about it, I was like, feels biased. But then the other guys talking about it that I've heard that took it in a positive light, felt very hipster, like kind of, we're laughing with it because this is so fucking out of left field. And I was like, I really don't know where I'm going to be at with this thing. So I'm going in with like 0. We'll find out.
Had a budget of $150,000.
Yes.
And was filmed in the forests of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
During the wintertime. So
I've seen like a trailer or something.
Okay.
Like I've seen a couple, like I know what I'm getting into.
Like a little bit of footage, yeah.
Don't worry about it. I know exactly what I'm getting into. I'm just curious, like it's all off the comedy and the humor of it. And
we will see.
Maybe
I had a lot of fun with this movie. I'm excited to rewatch it.
Ooh.
I even own it. Right?
Wow.
I got a Blu-ray of it, right?
Speaking of fucking hipster.
I know. And cool. We're going to talk about Hundreds of Beavers.
Nice.
Directed by Mike Cheslick, starring Rylan Tews is his name. He has like he has more full name, but it's like Rylan Brixton something or another. Anyway,
cool.
Hundreds of Beavers. Be sure to check that film out before episode 94. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Neon Crew Podcast. You can go to Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and give us some 5-star ratings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you haven't already. We also have a website, www.neoncrewpodcast.com. Check out our social media pages on YouTube Community, Facebook, and Instagram. Shout out to Gideon for doing our music. Shout out to Lauren for doing our artwork. Shout out to Sam for the night call with Sam Parker. Might pop up every now and again. Who knows if he'll be sending
I don't
something
know if
in.
we have to. Yeah, that segment might be. I don't think he's done one in a while, right?
He hasn't done one in a while, but you know what? The spirit of him will still be there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on.
He does. He's a busy boy.
Yeah.
But you know what? We'll still stick by that as a outro part.
Right.
Yeah. Was there anything else that we wanted to say?
WWTHD.
Bye, everyone. Sound more like Cartman than it did.
That's what I hear when he talks. Okay, that's exactly what I hear.
Ah!